Okay, I'm a little bit early, I think. Now, we've got 9 people watching already. Thanks for joining us. I'm about a few seconds early, actually, but thanks for joining us, guys. Well, first thing I need to do is make sure you can hear me. So, can someone post in chat when you hear my voice? You can actually hear me, because that's the most important thing. The chat boxes should be on to your right. Very easy to use. Just click on it and then write whatever you want to write. So, is anybody there? What's this? Nobody's. Is it working properly? Okay. Oh, all right. Oh my God, I don't believe it. I was on. It was on top chat and then live chat, and suddenly all the messages just appeared, and you've been posting since before I went live. I went live. Oh, so hello, Orbit. Neptune returns, Rick Leak. Hello. Orbit 80Y. Hello. Neptune returns. Welcome. Another regular poster. And Steve071. Hello again. Lime Specs. Greetings. How are you? And who else do we have here? V8 Mose. Luke Griffin. Safety Man. Hello. GS Evolved. I thought you might be here. Julian Carver. All the familiar names. Hello, you guys. How are you? Oh, it's good. Ironman Spartan. And David Schultz from Maine, USA. How are you? And Stephen. Hello, Stephen. How are you? The big Scottish midge. Welcome, all of you. Welcome. And Ben Grizzly. Hi, Ben Grizzly. Oh, thanks for joining me. Can you all hear me okay? I assume you can, because none of you are saying hello, pain and death to the New World Order. I assume you can all hear me, because no one's complaining that I'm not visible. I hope I'm not buffering. If I'm buffering, it might. There's no sign of it here. It might be to do with you. Hello, Neil. Welcome. You can hear me fine. Thank you very much, Pain and Death. Let me know if there's any technical problems. If you're all sorted and you can all hear me fine, we shall continue. We'll start straight away. I'm just sure if I do that, it means I'm scratching my chin. I must say I've got a bit of itching on my chin because I'm growing a beard. It's actually a protest because it's an irrelevant subject, but basically Gillette razors yesterday they released an advertisement that was one of the most sexist, racist piles of garbage I've ever seen. So I'm growing a beard as a protest. So if I do, you know what, you guys, you know what it's like if you grow a beard. To begin with, it's really itchy and you go like that all the time. So when it's got a bit longer, then the itching goes away. So that's what I'll do. But that's a story for another time. But basically, if you see me doing like that, right, it's because I'm growing this beard. I've got my Gilet jaune. Yay! Thing about this though, I've washed it. I'm not going to put it on because I've washed it. It's still a bit damp, although it's polyester, so it dries very quickly. But I need it for work anyway. So I mean, I thought I'll go and I'll get one of those because I know they're sort of a symbol of rebellion right now. Even though David Icke said, you know, grey suits and luminous jackets, and I thought I'd get one. I need one for work anyway, so it was just an excuse. It was both reasons, I think. Okay, right. Well, so what we're going to talk about today, we're talking about the Brexit decision in Parliament. I did say I'd do a live stream when this was done, when this was sorted out, and it has been sorted out now. So I've got a lead off. I'm going to go through this lead off here, and afterwards I'll take your comments and questions for as long as there are comments and questions, or until I run out of energy. If you can, of course, comment. I won't be able to reply to your comment straight away, not until I finish this lead off. But then I'll just go explain what's happened because I don't know how many of you watched it, but I had the beers and Doritos. It was like watching a football match, and I thought it was utterly exciting. Not, but basically, Theresa May made a final appeal because she thought it was so important that people accept her deal, and she put on all the fake emotions she could. Please accept the deal. It's the best thing. You know, what utter rubbish. I mean, I'll say a bit more about this in a minute, but in more detail. But basically, she didn't want it. She knew no one was going to accept the deal. That's the whole point. I mean, loads of MPs said they weren't going to vote with her. her coalition partners, Democratic Unionist Party, the rather strange organisation from Northern Ireland, which is it's more like a religious group actually than a political party. They said they weren't going to back her up on this. They're the only people keeping her in bloody power. And it got really ridiculous. I mean, the day before there was so much propaganda. I don't know if did you see the big handwriting guy? Did you see that? That was hilarious. Mel Stride. Now he's a financial secretary to the Treasury, and he came out number 10 carrying a folder. This is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. He's carrying this big red folder that they use in Parliament. He's got a piece of paper sticking out to the top, the bit sticking out of it at the top. And it says, no food, no Channel Tunnel. Number one, no food. Number two, no Channel Tunnel. I looked at that and I thought to myself, he's got big handwriting. He just happens to have left it, as he just happened to have left it sticking out of his folder by accident when he came out of Parliament, when he knew there were news cameras. Do you actually believe that was just an accident? No food, no Channel Tunnel. Thing is, there'll be plenty of food after Brexit. The problem is, we will be the food. We'll be the food for Godzilla, won't we? Anyway, the MPs did vote, and of course, that it was an even bigger whitewash than we thought. In fact, 432 to 202 to reject the deal. Now, in terms of government bills, that's the biggest kick-in the government has had since 1922, when the Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald was shafted by his government. So they really made history today. And immediately Jeremy Corbyn tabled a vote of no confidence in the government, which has just happened, actually, just a couple of hours ago. I'll talk a bit more about that later. What happened was, it's not really clear what happens now. So all the news organisations I've looked at, all the commentators, are not quite sure what's happened, but they're calling this they say that Westminster is tumbling into a political crisis without modern precedent. And as I said on previous live streams and several other videos, it is a crisis that has been created deliberately to stop Brexit. That's very important to understand. It's not something that's just happened. It's not accidental. It's not an accidental obstacle. It's sabotage. It's absolute sabotage. Oh, it's ridiculous here. The news says, it looks as if Theresa May faces an incredibly hard job getting it passed. But no, she didn't. It's not. She made the bill unpalatable for the MPs. I mean, like I said, only 202 MPs voted in favour of it. Few abstained. 432 of the 650 voted against it in the House of Commons. And I don't blame them. Her deal was the most unpalatable bill that has been passed, but has been presented to Parliament since the monster raving loony party presented a bill suggesting that asparagus be served by compulsory measure. Of course they rejected it, didn't they? They rejected it. I remember that Theresa May only has a working majority of just 13, and most of those 13 are the DUP. So what happens now? Well, according to there's only a certain amount of options here. Now, the default position, what will happen if no one does anything, is that the United Kingdom leaves the European Union on Brexit Day, 11 p.m., 29th of March. Not long, just 2 months away, just over 2 months away, without a deal. That's the default position. But of course, that's when Godzilla will rise from the sea and eat us all up. Yeah, that's now. This is when all the treaties, the EU treaties, will stop applying to the UK, and all the other things that I've told you about and how it will be much better if that happens. Ministers have up to 21 days to make a statement to the Commons on how it proposes to proceed. Well, that's the best part of a month gone already. It looks pretty obvious that this is a delaying tactic. The 29th of March will not be Brexit Day. It'll be rolled back much further, probably for a few months after that, if that at all. They're going to drag this out as long as they can. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, so the government will have to put new legislation before Parliament and secure a deal to the approval of the MPs. Right, as There is no House procedure that could overcome statute. Only statute can overcome statute. Right. Okay. Well, that clarifies everything. But the have another go option is one of these things. Within this is now there's only a 3-week window for this, but the requirement on ministers to propose a way forward would see several alternative scenarios come into play. The Prime Minister could make a second attempt at getting the withdrawal deal through Commons, in which case she'd probably lose by even more. I mean, it's not going to happen, is it? you can't overturn that kind of defeat. Now, she might suppose amendments to it. This is one of the things she could do. She could make some amendments to her deal. But the thing is, you can't really amend this deal. You have to get rid of it altogether and start again. So basically, what this means is Brexit is basically put back to square one. All the work that she's done for the last 2.5 years is wasted. Or it would be if she was someone who actually wanted Brexit and actually really wanted to do it. 2.5 years work down the drain. But the fact of the matter is, the 2.5 years she spent thinking to herself, "My God, we got to keep Britain in the European Union. How can I do it and make sure that Britain does while looking as if I'm trying to make us leave?" That's been her dilemma. And so she's put together this awful checkers deal, which barely scraped through the European Commission held a conference for it, and it barely scraped through there. It barely scraped through the cabinet. And now it's been rejected by Parliament, of course, because they wanted it rejected. I wouldn't be surprised if the European Commission actually passed the deal because they knew it would then go to the British Parliament and the Parliament would reject it. They wanted them to reject it. And as I said in the previous live stream, and the last live stream was also about Brexit, about a very similar situation. They were going to have the vote and she delayed it. She delayed it for the best part of a month till after Christmas. And they said she delayed it because she thought she wouldn't win. Well, she knew she was hoping not to win, but it was delaying tactics. Right. Plan B is another option. Now, this goes back to the Northern Irish backstop. And I was talking to someone on Facebook today who actually said, no, it's actually they voted Remain, and they gave me an explanation, which I'm still thinking about and reading through about why they voted Remain, and about how I think they got down with the idea that Brexit is somehow a controlled opposition. I don't think that's the case right now. Setting up bilateral trade deals is extremely easy when you have two parties for whom it's their benefit, which is how it should be for Northern Ireland and Ireland. That's how it's been in the past. But of course, they're basically now it's basically sand on the track. Like everything else to do with Brexit, the backstop thing is just, is Theresa May saying, how can we create a problem where no problem exists? Some MPs hope there's another plan B to get behind another version of Brexit, where the membership of the European Free Trade Area would remain, which would see the UK staying closely linked to the EU, but without being an actual member state, like Norway. So Norway is kind of half in, half out. It is part of the customs union, it's part of the original free trade area, but it never became a full member. This would not be a straightforward move, it says here, which means basically it would require extensive renegotiation, which basically means they go back to square one, and we could be waiting. It could be waiting another 2.5 years. It's taken them 2.5 years to get this far. And of course, when we're dealing with people who don't want Brexit, it doesn't matter. You can't trust them. That's the problem. What's really frustrating about this whole business is I was watching it last night and I was quite enjoying it because it was quite good fun, because it's quite amusing, especially when Owen Jones's little chubby cheeks poked out from behind the scenery. I thought, this is going to be fun. Of course, it's always amusing to watch him debating, especially with Andrew Neil. But yeah, I didn't really care what happened because it makes absolutely no difference. The only third option ever has existed in government is UKIP, and UKIP has proven itself to be controlled opposition. I don't know if I said that in the last live stream. I think I did, actually. But the very fact that Nigel Farage has been basically, during the last time that this vote was going to come to Parliament, the very moment of which UKIP was created, what was happening? Well, Nigel Farage and Gerald Batten, I think I trust more than Farage now, they were obsessing over a matter of internal policy. It was all to do with Tommy Robinson and whether he should be a part of what they were doing. All right, it's a question that needs answering, but is now the time, Nigel, I said. Is now the time? Can't you? You can sort that out afterwards. Right now, the very moment for which you created the party, or the party was created, is going on. And you're sitting in front of a microphone on your show on LBC saying you're going to quit. You're ranting on about Tommy Robinson, how much you don't like him and stuff like this. It is stupid, and it's a distraction. And unfortunately, UKIP, I think, are controlled opposition. I've become more sure of that. It's a suspicion that's been around for a while. Like a year ago, Nigel Farage was talking about supporting a second referendum. I thought, Nigel, you've lost your mind. Maybe he hasn't lost his mind. Maybe that's his role, to act as the controlled opposition. Since then, I've got to know Caroline Stevens, and well, you may have seen the shows I've been on with her on the Basis Project and on her channel, Seeking the Truth, Wake Up UK on Wake Up UK. And she's a former UKIP member who stood for Parliament for UKIP. So, yeah, it absolutely is. Now, it gets more complicated when you realise that probably other things will be, during this process that I've just described, this hypothetical process, other things will be going on as well. Firstly, Theresa May, her 9 lives are going to run out. I mean, I predicted with absolute certainty that she would not last as Prime Minister beyond November of 2017. How wrong I was. I was absolutely certain, because the way she'd called a ridiculous general election, where Jeremy Corbyn has walked all over her. She formed this stupid alliance with the DUP, and I thought this is an unsustainable position. She'll be out within a few months. She survived that. She survived another entire year, more than a year. How is it? I mean, she survived the leadership contest, the party vote of no confidence, and as it's just been revealed just a couple of hours ago, she survived a parliamentary vote of no confidence. But she's still on borrowed time. I mean, her 9 lives, like I say, are going to run out. So there's at some point during this process within the next few months, she's going to resign. I mean, it says she's held on over and over again, but she can't last forever, not with everything that's going on. So there will be a leadership contest where someone else would become Prime Minister. It's important to realize the difference for you Americans. In Britain, we have a very, very different system. We don't have an elected head of government. The head of government is simply the leader of the party, which happens to be the biggest in Parliament. And then they can pick and choose whoever they want. The actual party can choose. The party itself chooses the head of government, chooses the Prime Minister. Our head of state, of course, is unelected. She's the Queen. Her reptileness, the lizard of Westminster, lizard of Buckingham Palace. So, so she survived her party's no confidence with Jacobs Rees-Mogg and his band of Brexiteers. So that means she's safe from a party vote of no confidence for a year. But, of course, she has hung on to power. And there could be a general election. In fact, there probably will be a general election, but I'll come to that in a minute. First of all, of course, the ace in the pack, the jewel in the crown, the ultimate goal for this is the people's vote, a second referendum. Someone actually tweeted something I saw on Twitter today. Anyone who still supports Brexit after all that has happened since the referendum is as delusional as a flat earther at this point. Right. So this sentiment I've seen echoed everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of people I've seen simply saying they want an end to this. They just fed up with it. Now, the people's vote. Now, the term people's vote came from Gina Miller, Gina Miller, and her People's Challenge, I think it was called. Now, she's not a politician. She's a lawyer. She tried basically to challenge the government through the courts over Brexit. But, I mean, the term people's vote is very Orwellian because it suggests that the 2016 referendum was not a people's vote. I don't understand when another referendum will basically be a repeat of the last one. There may be other options on it because the 2016 one had 2 options. Britain stays in, Britain leaves. The second referendum will have other options. You might have the option of no deal Brexit, customs union, half Brexit, I can't believe it's not Brexit, etc., Brexit light. There may be several different options on there, but one of those will be cancelling Brexit. reversing Article 50, which can be done. I mean, there was actually a court, it's been revealed, the Parliament, for the first time in, I think, 150 years or so, Parliament was actually sued by the High Court, by its own judiciary and the Attorney General, which revealed this, that the part of what they had planned was the possibility of cancelling Brexit altogether. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, look, this is just too much trouble. It's costing money, it's costing stress, it's causing a crisis. Look, can we just forget this even happened? Can we? Can we just go back? Let's roll this back to before 2016 and just forget this ever happened, please. And that second referendum would be a way to do that. And of course, if there was a second referendum, of course, Remain would win. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they will not. The government will not make the mistakes they made last time. They will rig the polls properly. They'll rig everything in a way they didn't put enough effort in last time. They'll rig it properly this time. And there could even be another Joe Cox-like event, someone getting killed or something similar, which will just add spice to the mix. And indeed, I don't think too much manipulation would be necessary. There are people. I can sense the mood actually among many people I hear talking about this, and the energy's going out of it all. The enthusiasm has died, and it's not died. It's been killed deliberately by this heel dragging, dithering confusion, which has been deliberately seeded by the saboteurs of Brexit, including Theresa May, these so-called leaders of our country, they're actually treacherous agents of the New World Order, globalist power. Now that will certainly happen after a general election because Labour are committed to it. The Scottish Nationalist Party are very committed to a second referendum, as are the Lib Dems. If there's a hung parliament, it's likely to be a Labour, SNP, Lib Dem thing, I reckon. If there's a general election and there's a hung parliament. There's a thing I won't read out now. It's in my notes. A political parties, elections, and referendum Act of 2000. The Electoral Commission's recommendation is there should be 6 months between legislation being passed and referendum day. So that's that. You can drag it out even more. You can delay Brexit even further. This could be shortened, but realistically not by that much. It could be shortened to 22 weeks. Well, that's all right. That's a long time, isn't it? So the referendum to happen, there would have to be a delay to Brexit, yeah. And that would require all 27 EU member states and the UK to agree. Right. When they say all 27 EU member states, they mean all members of the EU Commission, which, of course, is an unelected bureaucracy. It consists of selected bureaucrats, selected Eurocrats, as they're called, who are not in any way elected by any people at all. They are appointed by the EU president, the European president, or I think that's how it's done. But I know they're not selected by the EU Parliament, or they're not selected by the member state. I mean, who's our particular commissioner? Is old Lord Kinnock. Lord Kinnock, the Welsh windbag himself. He lost 2 general elections actually in Britain before the Labour Party actually ousted him. Or he resigned actually. But now he's gone from failure to greatness. I mean, he's gone to a far more powerful position he ever would have if he'd ever been Prime Minister. Lord Kinnock is now the commissioner, the UK commissioner to the European Commission, which means that he's basically an unelected dictator. So there probably will be a general election, along with, especially if May doesn't resign or there's some other complicated issue. As I said, it will probably be either Labour will get a majority, which they may well not, but if they do, they'll enter a coalition with the Lib Dems or the SNP. The SNP, right, are completely behind the idea of a second referendum. What's more, most Labour voters want a second referendum. Corbyn hasn't actually said this so far, but he will probably get behind it. Even though, funny thing about Corbyn is he spent most of his career as a Eurosceptic. He was along with Tony Benn and a lot of other people on the within Labour who didn't like the EU. So it's probably going to be a general election at some point. It's all very complicated. Have to see if that happens. Another issue is negotiated no deal. This is where the UK would ask the EU for a 1-year extension of membership. Just 1 year, no longer, temporary, of course, before leaving on World Trade Organization terms. Now, the moment we immediately go to WTO terms if we leave on the 29th of March. But then, of course, Godzilla will appear, and that'll be it. We'll all be dead. So that's another option. I will have to see. But anyway, the mood could go any way. There's pandemonium at the moment. There's chaos. And Theresa May has just seen off, just 2 hours ago, saw off a bid to remove her from government, winning a no-confidence vote by 325 to 306. That's just 19. That's really close compared to her deal. She won it. She won this one by 19 votes. That means it's still very close. It means she is on borrowed time. So now this is funny. Jeremy Corbyn said that Mrs. May's zombie administration has lost the right to govern. I mean, it is, isn't it? She looks like a bloody zombie. Funny thing is, whenever people get into these positions, you saw it with Obama and Clinton in the United States. They seem to age like about 20 years in the 4 to 8 years they have in power, these US presidents. And she's the same. She looks like a walking cadaver. I mean, maybe it's to do with possession and things like that. And the archons that apparently take possession of a human body. It seems to be very, very bad for them. And they seem to live a very long time, but they deteriorate into these sort of like husky, sort of like misshapen, dry-skinned, haggard monsters. You see this with people like Prince Philip. They barely look human, and maybe it's because inside they're not human. Oh, so that's the situation we're in now. And thanks everyone for the comments that you left me on the live stream. I will go through them. I forgot last time. I'll go through these comments. So Neptune Returns says, will you do a live stream on drink and drugs, Ben? You'll need them for the Brexit fast. I will. I actually have... well, Neptune Returns, I actually have this, which I think I'll save it for the weekend, but I've got some wine here. No drugs. However, I'm not going to... I know what you mean. It is such a farce. I did have some wine yesterday, actually. John Barry 79 says, I think Brexit is still going ahead either way. I'm a British national living and working in the Netherlands, and I received a letter from Dutch Immigration Office saying, as of March this year, I'll no longer be seen as a citizen of the EU. I'll need a new kind of permit to be able to stay in the country. All my other rights remain as normal. Well, that's it. Well, I doubt. I think, John, I think you'll be all right, actually, in that respect. I don't agree with you that Brexit is just going to go ahead. If it did, of course, this is a lot of people who are on the Remain side are saying, oh, isn't it awful because these people will be basically kicked out of the countries they live in, these British nationals who live abroad. And my answer is no, that won't happen. You simply, will, as you say, will need a new kind of permit. There were plenty, before the EU came along, there were plenty of British nationals living and working in Europe. Indeed, the vice versa. There were lots of European nationals living and working in Britain. Indeed, my mother was one of them. My mother was a Dutch woman from the Netherlands, like where you're living, John. And she never became a British citizen, but she lived for the rest of her life, from the mid-1960s right through to when she died in 2008, in Britain with a Dutch passport. She came over before the EU. So I think you're safe, John, if you're worried about that. Steve071 says, this is going to be raucous. Well, I haven't looked at the chat box yet, but I'll check. Nothing is as it seems, says a succubus old order, I think not. A succubus. Are you talking about Theresa May again? She could play the succubus in The Shining, couldn't she? She could. That's before it. No, after it transforms. Crafty Nihilists, hello, you two. Lisa and Mark will be there, Ben, says Crafty Nihilists. So both of them are there, I hope. Totally Buck Rogered says, there's a reply on that as well. I'll see if there's any other replies. Sheesh, will we ever be free? Probably not in my lifetimes. I'd like to say it's looking grim for the next generation too. I say get rid of government altogether, their laws, aka opinions of parasite politicians are backed by threats of force. It cannot be healthy the way things to go about things. Government is a grand illusion where everyone seeks to live at the expenses of everyone else. You've been watching Stefan Molyneux, haven't you? So yeah, I mean, will we ever be free? We have to be. Whether it will be in our lifetimes, I don't know. I hope so. I'd like to be able to live to see it. If not, then I'm just going to have to be one of these people that I think the phrase goes, people willing to water the ground and plant the trees under whose leaves they will never enjoy the shade. But we'll basically do it for future generations. We're just going to we'll have to be happy with that, saying we're fighting the good fight and we're doing it for future generations. Even if we don't ever see it ourselves, we just got to be happy for the people who will in the future. And I think that's what we'll have to do. I mean, I hope David Icke always says, "Oh, it'll happen in our lifetimes," you know. But I mean, I do wonder. I do. I think as he's got older, he wonders that too. It'd be nice to see it. I hope we do see it. If not, then we'll just have to be content, as I said, to hope for the future, and fight the good fight for them. And Adrian Cooper says underneath, so you're advocating a libertarian dog-eat-dog society. Oh, blimey, Adrian, that's a can of worms. I can't really go into that, I'm afraid. That's just too much. Anyway, guys, my goodness me. I'll go through your comments. Thanks for commenting, everybody. Orbit 80Y says, is that a face on your headboard? It's a... I think that might be a bit of pareidolia. The skeptics will love that. It's Helen Duncan, says Neptune Returns. Oh my God, Helen, you're there. Well, according to Margaret, her granddaughter, she's keeping an eye on me. Rick Cleek says, throw Corbyn off a cliff. Now, I don't want to... Jeremy Corbyn actually is... You know, believe it or not, I mean, seeing as you know that I really like Trump, I actually like Corbyn as well. People find it hard to get their heads around that, but even though I disagree with him politically, I think he has a sense of principle and decency and philanthropy, which means he will not get involved in any nefarious and destructive things to do with the people. I think he's one of these politicians who's actually sincere. The problem with Corbyn is that when people saying, wouldn't a Corbyn prime minister be great? And I think, well, to have someone like that as prime minister would be, but how long is he honestly going to be prime minister for? I reckon he'd get 3 or 4 months, then it would be the Ides of March situation, and the usual suspects would get the knives out, and he'd be lying in the back benches with them embedded in his body before you know it. And we all know who we're talking about. Corbyn, as I said, he's an admirable individual, but he's surrounded by some of the most despicable people I've ever seen in politics. And they are longing, they are using him, they're riding in his slipstream to get into power. And once his slipstream is no longer necessary, he'll be disposed of. And that's a subject for another video. Neptune turns. Theresa may not. Orbit 80Y. Have we vowed never to buy a Gillette razor ever again? I have. Although that's another story, but of course that's another subject. But see, and there was a big thing I saw a big thing on Twitter saying, calling on Gillette to ban the ad, to withdraw the ad. And Gillette have announced they're not going to pull that ad. They're going to keep broadcasting it. My answer is good. Keep it there. Because it's terrible publicity. And they are going to have to learn the hard way through sales declining. I'm sorry, Liberace's just started up there. It's the guy, the musician I told you lives above. Steve071, May's just survived the no confidence vote. Yes, exactly. And by a very narrow margin. I think she's, as I said, I think she's still in a really bad position seeing it was that close. Neptune Return says, overpriced crap. What's that? Stephen, hello. Lime Specs. Get a Brawn Series 9, says Neptune Returns. I'll get something like that. I mean, thing is, I hope you won't think too badly of me, but I'm going to keep... I've actually got a few razors left. I've got a few razors left by Gillette, which I bought now. So basically, the damage is done. I'm going to still use them to shave my scalp. So I hope you won't think any too badly of me for that. Safety man, top man, Ben Loud. Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, I've been through those comments. Yeah. Good evening, Julian. And Jack Daw, hello. Thank you. I'm glad you can hear me. Where are we? Iron Spartan. Yes. Good for you to join me, all of you. Stephen, Big Scottish Mish, Ben Grizzly. Your loyal coterie, says Lime Specs. Yes, it's really, I really like these little get-togethers. I really do. I really enjoy them. Neil Austin. The beard's back, says Stephen. Yeah, I did grow a beard before. It was about 2 years ago. That was for a different reason. Stephen, there's no Steve Mumbling. Not yet. Steve Mumbling has not yet appeared. He might do. It'll be an early start for him, but then Susan... Sorry, I've forgotten her name now. She always appears. She's in Australia. So he might turn up if he gets up early enough. Unite Planet. Hey, Unite Planet. How are you guys? You two guys. Right. Yep. I'll... Welcome. Thanks for joining Unite Planet. And Roger Salzgaber, hello. It's a French name anyway. Giet, yes. It's like the Giet, except Giet's got one L and one... I think it's got two L's and one T. But the Giet Jean. Yeah. A funny thing about Gillette. Gillette is actually now a subsidiary of Procter & Gamble. Yes, you know, the Pringles. You've seen that video. Procter & Gamble also made toxic sanitary towels for women, which resulted in a couple of women dying. So much for their feminist principles. Orbit 80Y says, a bit moist. Am I? Are you? Ben Grizzly, get some beard oil. Oh, right. Someone actually offered to dye my beard. Because I must admit, there are a few little white bits in it. You know, I'm not a teenager anymore. Even though I'm ageless and I'm still young. I'm not a teenager. I hope no one, Ben Grizzly says, I'm a beard man. I hope Diego Rivera hasn't turned up yet, but I hope no one mistakes me for the British Bigfoot. Stephen says it's all a load of shite, all controlled. Well, yeah, it is. What's going on now is, as I said before, Stephen, I know a lot of people in the truth movement disagree with me on this. I believe that when Brexit first happened, like the referendum in 2016, that was something that was not intended by the powers that be. It really wasn't. They didn't want that to happen. It's not a phony bone of contention. It was a real breakdown in their control system. Then what's been happening on ever since, from their point of view, is a damage control exercise, which is what we're seeing. We're seeing basically, oh my God, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to get the New World Order agenda back on the rails? That's what Theresa May's job is. Limespec says a bit of a fuss over nothing, that Gillette thing, I reckon. A lot of people have said that to me. A lot of people have said I'm making a big mountain out of a molehill. Now, I suppose it does look a bit like that, but it's all a part of mind control. It's all a part of mind control for reasons I've explained in my BBC video and many other things. Paul Armstrong, Unite Planet's horse plop. Don't be rude, Paul, please. Unite Planet says, thanks, Paul, for your comment. Very polite. You got to. Paul is actually not a bad person. He likes to wind people up. He is a shit stirrer, basically. But he's not in a malicious way. I think he just does it to be playful. So if you're willing, if you can, Unite Planet, if you're willing to answer him back, I'll leave you to it. Steve 071 they won't agree a deal just after Hygiene Act. Yes, they don't want it exactly. It's all delaying taxes. It's all spanners in the works. It's all causing the process to it's staggering. It's been staggering slower and slower and slower to grind to a halt. That's what they want. They want it to grind to a halt so it can't work. So, look, I'm sorry. Look, we're going to have to stay in the EU. There's no way out. We can't get out of it. It's just too difficult. We're going to have to stay in the EU. Sorry, all you people who voted leave. But, you know, what you asked for cannot be done. We're just not capable of it. Stephen, they don't run anything. The people don't. No, Stephen, as I said, they are agents of the New World Order. They are treacherous, and they are treacherous. They're basically agents of a treacherous occupation force. Edwardian lady, hello. Good evening, oh bearded one. Thank you. Wait till it gets really long. Stephen says, you're better off voting for Mickey Mouse. Yeah, I think we are. Steve 07, grow a Fu Manchu. Oh, you mean like the big long things? Ah, so yes. Pain and death, the New World Order says. Oh, well, oh, sorry, I think I've slipped down. Stephen is right. They are all fake bankers, bumsuckers. Yeah. Mistaken Tax 6. Hello, welcome. Vote Mickey, says Stephen. TK, hello, TK. How are you? Donald Duck don't give a order, said Steve 071. The speaker is the only person I think I like in there. I think he's really cool, the speaker. Paul Armstrong. Ben's been bewitched by the alt-right. No, I haven't. I've explained before the alt-right. I don't denounce the alt-right as pure evil because I know they're not, but I think they are misguided. I think they're wrong. They got it all wrong on a lot of things to do with the racial issue and Islam and immigration and stuff like this. They don't realise that these things are not the product of. They're not just being allowed to happen; they're being made to happen, and it's not about white people. They don't. It's not a thing against white people. It looks like that. It's not an agenda against white people. I think they hate us all. As far as the Illuminati are concerned, all people are farm animals. VA Mo, hello VA Mos. We're doomed. Well, not yet. We're not doomed yet. Stephen says people will still vote for these Muppets and puppets. Well, this is why I do these live streams. Is to get information out. Now, if people will say, well, this talking does nothing, but talking is. But there's no point just talking about it, Ben. You've got to do something. But talking is the doing something. This is an information war. It's the more people watch this, people will spread it. People will share it with their friends. Sometimes they'll come up to it later and later. I mean, this live stream, of course, is temporary, but the recording, I keep all the recordings of my live streams. And so people can come back to them anytime and watch them again. And this information, they may come across this information. It may be enough to push it over that 100th monkey point, which I told you about. Do you remember my Dreaming Saucers thing where I talked about the 100th monkey? It only needs to go as far as that, and then it's all done. The job's done, basically. All right, Godzilla is coming up the themes. Yes, it is literally true. I mean, this is what we're told. I mean, it's like we're doomed. Brexit will destroy us. Well, people, Remainers will say that. I mean, my dad's a Remainer, and he says that. He just says we can't have Brexit. It'll just destroy everything. It'll destroy our economy. It'll destroy the nation. It'll destroy it. It'll just ruin it. It will cause jobs. It will cause recession. And the problem is, he's probably right, but it's not Brexit that will cause that. It's the sabotage as a result of Brexit that will cause that. See, this is the thing. It's not a product of Brexit. It's a product of the people who are trying to stop Brexit. As I said on previous videos, forming bilateral trade deals with the EU and with other countries is the easiest thing in the world. We've been doing it since prehistoric times. We can do it again very easily. Pain and Death says, I don't believe there'll be a Brexit. No, there won't be. I don't think there will be. This is something, I don't want to sound like oh dear, we're doomed, dear, that's awful. There's not going to be a Brexit. As I said before, I think you said this on the last live stream, or the live stream about Brexit, which was the last one, I think. Was it the Bob Lazar one? I can't remember. I did say, shut up, bloody. It's Liberace. It won't go on forever. But as I said, really, there's no. I think we should feel hopeful for this because this can only end well. Because what happened in 2016, the 2016 effect, Trump and Brexit, it echoes forward to the present day. Now, the way that the opposition to this, the 2016 effect, has actually carried out their damage limitation exercise has really been very damaging for them. I mean, the empire has struck back, but they've struck themselves in the foot really badly in doing so. I mean, look at the way that they're just panicking, and they're not even pretending anymore. I mean, being a spin doctor is now a dying industry because they've been completely honest now. They're saying quite openly things like, we we don't want these people to have a decision. We shouldn't have let them. We can't let them have this decision. We've got to reverse it. Things like that. Or you get politicians in America talking openly illegal things, like bombing the White House. We've got to kick Trump's ass and things like that, and stuff like that. These are things that would be politically impossible before 2016, but they're saying it now. These are things they used to think, or they used to say in roundabout ways through spin doctors. Now they're saying openly. They're panicking. So this could only end well. Actually stopping Brexit is probably the best option. To be honest, bear with me, but I did an article about this. Let me just find it. If I can find it, is it here? Yeah, it's. But basically, here we are. Would it be better if Brexit is stopped? I go into this sort of thing. There's no way. There's no line. They're going to have to say this at some point. They're going to have to say we are stopping Brexit and keeping Britain in the EU. We're doing it because we are left wing and we are in power. We don't care if it's not fair. We don't care if it's not true. We don't care about the 2016 referendum because the bulk of Leave voters are white, working class, male heterosexuals who are racist, evil, uneducated white van drivers. We hate that demographic group and wish to disenfranchise them. They're going to have to say this is what's known as a black pill. And that's an alt-right term. As I said, I'm not alt-right, but they do have some interesting insights, I must say. I don't believe they're evil monsters. I think they have. They're just wrong and misguided. This is the thing, and I just thought to myself that would be, and it will be because it's going to happen. Very good for us. It'd be very good indeed. Oh, Israel Diego Rivera Eugenio Lucian Suntes Genius is here. Hello, Jim. Right, British Bigfoot comments coming up. Brilliant Aura. They've got to keep the transition period till 2099. They will drag it out that long if they have to. They really will. They really, really want to drag their heels as much as possible. Goon Love, hello. We got Stephen first, and they put that big act. They put on that big act for TV. They are, yes. Goon Love, hello, Goon Love. Proper piss take. This Brexit shite, yeah. Neptune returns. I spotted my Freemason floor. Yes, it's still there. It was there when I moved in, I swear. Fake exit, says Diego Rivera. Steve071 says, if they get the second vote, then it's all over. I know Leavers who would switch to Remain now. So do I. I mean, I could just see people just thinking, maybe they made a mistake. And of course, the Remainers are going, oh, you see, people have got wise to it. They knew it was a mistake to begin with. No, they're exhausted. They're exhausted and they're demoralized because the entire process for the last 2.5 years has been designed to exhaust and demoralize the population. Besides which, I think I would boycott a second referendum on principle simply because we've had a referendum, we voted, and the government in a sense want us to play this game where we vote again because we got the wrong answer. And that to me is, I don't want to play that game. I mean, Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, he said the same thing about the Lisbon Treaty. He boycotted the Lisbon Treaty for the same reason. I don't want to play their game. So I probably will not vote in the second referendum in principle. I mean, to be honest, let's face it, if there was a second referendum and Leave won again, would that mean we get Brexit? No, it wouldn't. They'd find another way around it. It's pointless. Vrillon Aura, hello Vrillon. Freemason flooring confirmed, yes. I've actually met Vrillon. I know he exists because I've actually met him face to face. And he knows I'm not a Freemason, really, Stephen says, Tony Blair, one of the worst for playing up to TV. Oh, Tony Blair, he's horrible. Is he ever going to be sorted out, that bloke? Oh, I was reading The Ghost, that book by Richard Harris, who's a former friend of Blair's. It's a satire on Blair. It's bloody good. It's made into a film, actually. It's made into a really, really good movie, if you want to see it. It's got Pierce Brosnan plays the Blair character. Do check it out. It's called The Ghost, or The Ghost Writer. Diego Rivera says, Rothschilds run Britain. Well, the Rothschilds are one of the Illuminati families. They're not one of 13 Illuminati families. They're part of an Illuminati family. Vrillon Aura says he couldn't bear to watch. I could, Vrillon, because I didn't give a damn. Because it doesn't matter at all. Yes, they do Israel. Pain and Death says that. Yeah. Yeah, the Rothschilds actually created Israel. That's true. It's not anti-Semitic to say that. Before anyone posts or complains or says anything else or sends me evil hate mail, it's not the Jews. That was a fake. It was a complete fake thing. Israel was created on a lie. Paul Armstrong. Jorge Rodriguez. Hello, Ben from Australia. Hello, Jorge. How are you? Hello, you guys. How are you? From Australia, another Australian viewer. Is Susan going to turn up? And then I'll have and Steve mumbling, and then the entire Australian contingent will be here. Nora, the worst thing that happens is 1066. It's funny, that there's a lot of discussion in the theoretical parts of the conspiracy Vrillon, which suggests that the Anglo-Saxon Britain was pre-Illuminati or extra-Illuminati, and that the Illuminati only the Illuminati lost control of Britain after the fall of the Roman Empire, and they regained it from the Anglo-Saxons in 1066 with the Norman conquest. And in that period, those centuries, which are called the Dark Ages very, very often, which is wrong, I think, basically Britain was not under Illuminati rule. And that's a possibility. It's an interesting question. It's a big subject, though. Orbit 80Y says, Neptune Returns looks like a dark blue, not a black chap. I don't know. Neptune Returns has this, I think he looks like a character from EastEnders. Diego Rivera says, Benjamin Joe's next PM. Yes, says Villanora. Well, thank you very much. But, I think it's unlikely. Because, firstly, I don't think it would ever happen. If it did happen, I'd be shot within a week. Oh, do you mean these floors? The black thing? You mean the floors? Yeah. Black and white is black and white. Yes, it's a checkerboard floor. Which means I'm in the Illuminati, says Neptune Returns. Yes, I'm in I'm going to be accused of being a shill now, aren't I? That's already happened to me twice. Pain and Death says, me for PM. Yeah. Live on TV, watch live on TV. Criminal corporations hang live on TV. Hey. Nice one, yeah. Live Spec says, we can't have a Welsh PM. Sorry, Ben. Oh, right. Well, we have had, David Lloyd George. He was a Welsh PM. But no, I don't know. That was probably wouldn't have another one, actually. Diego Rivera says, Ben and Boris for PM. Me, Boris? Bullingdon Boris, the tortoise killer? No way. Villain throws Owen Jones. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine him? Orbit 80 was it? Is that a monumentally big tinfoil chillum by the Illuminati-like floor? Oh, everyone comments on that. Yeah. You have to watch. I'm actually going to turn that into. I'm actually going to give you a little bit of update here. I'm actually when my smart meter is installed, or my landlord's smart meter, because I tried to talk him out of it. I'm going to turn that into a Faraday cage. And I'm converting that hat into a Faraday cage for the smart meter. Just to let you know. But if you want to know what that is, you have to watch Dreaming Saucers. It's the Dreaming Saucers Tour of Oxford, and you'll see exactly what that thing is. Right, where are we now? Villanora says, bankrolled by Mossad, I should think. Well, yeah, Mossad are this Annie Michon was talking about Mossad in her talk in 2008 when I saw her. And she was saying, in MI5, a chill used to run down their necks whenever they heard the name Mossad. Mossad are by far the most brutal of all these various intelligence outfits. And in MI5, they were scared out of their wits by Mossad. Bros for PM. Boris, I think you mean Neptune. Boris, I think, is unfortunately, he's now can't see over the top of his own knob because he's got a young girl. He's marrying some young girl. She's 30, which is young. She is a young girl compared to him. So I think he's got his mind on other matters now. Steve071 says, is that your yellow sick bucket in the background for when you're watching the BBC News, Ben? Oh, right, yes, that's I do use it for that, but I normally keep things in it. I use it for storage, but I take everything out first, and then I throw up in it. I try to avoid watching news as soon as possible. Stephen says Boris for Frankenstein. He does look a bit like Frankenstein, like the Boris Karloff monster, doesn't he? Lime Specs. Oh my God, I never noticed the floor before. Is Ben a Mason shill? Oh my God. Neptune Returns. Why couldn't you keep your mouth shut? Yeah, Villanora is horrible, isn't it? Yeah. Jolly Cowpatch. Hello, Jolly Cowpatch. Welcome. Tommy Four Names is a beast in his own right, but not a good look-up cuddling too close to the next baton. Tommy Four Names. Oh, do you mean Tommy Robinson? Yeah, because that's not his real name, is it? He's got several other aliases. Stephen Lennon. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I think, is his real name. That's what they called him in court, anyway. He's not going to look good cuddling close up to the baton. Now, Tommy Robinson, I think, is not an insider. He's not a shell. He's nothing like that. I think he's a sincere guy. I don't think he's evil. I think he's like a lot of these counter jihad alt-right figures, I think he means well, but I think he's essentially being used. He's essentially being used to propose a wrong idea. See, the thing is, for people like Tommy Robinson, I've said this before. I don't know if I necessarily need to repeat it, but for him, you see, in a sense, he believes in a kind of new world order. But for him, the new world order is Islam. He believes, he kind of sees Islam as the conquest of Britain by Islam. You know, the new conquista and things like that. They talk about Islam taking over the world. The truth of the matter is, Islam is a tool that's being used by the real people who want to take over the world. Which is why they are funding these mega mosques all over the world and these madrasas where they they basically indoctrinate the youth. This is why they're paying the government. See, they're not. It's not something they're letting happen. Again, Tommy Robinson's got this idea that somehow, basically, the government are just so weakened by liberalism that they got themselves into a mess they can't get out of, and they're just thinking, "Oh my God, how are we going to do it?" You know, we've allowed this situation to come about because we were scared of being called racists. Truth of the matter is, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they didn't let it happen. They made it happen. They paid to bring in these hate preachers from Saudi Arabia into the mosques. This is why you have this this anti-integration problem with Muslims. I mean, of course, I know lots of Muslims. I live with 2 Muslims. Islam is the dominant religion of the hospital portering service. And of course, the older guys who've been here longer, who are the more moderate, they're the ones who've compromised their religion to fit into secular Western democracy. And it's the young guys who the teenagers and the ones in their 20s that don't. And this is not because Islam is taking over the world. It's because the Illuminati are using it as a tool. They carry out these false flag terrorist attacks, but they allow real terrorist attacks to happen by these screwed up young minds. And well, I mean, as far as whether he gets cuddles up close to the leader of UKIP or not, I don't know. It doesn't matter. UKIP are proving themselves to be completely ineffectual, probably deliberately. This is why everything in Parliament has just gone. Basically, there is literally no option, no good option in Parliament, in government at the moment. You have May's deal or you have no May's deal. Either way, it comes to the same. The only people everyone relied on to provide a third way, which is UKIP, have failed. Matty Taylor, hi Matty, how are you? Hi Ben, hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Yay, thank you. Orbit 81, I know what you mean. I mean, if that really was a sick bucket, it'd be a barrel, yes. Villanora says more like a barrel, yes. Exactly. Mr. Mann says, she's like shit on a blanket. Yes. Yeah, Paul Armstrong says, he's been hired to discredit the truth movement. Do you mean Robinson? Or do you mean May? Or Villanora, not elected as well? Yeah, well, funny thing about, yes, Theresa May, by rights, lost the general election. And she's held on because she got the Democratic Unionist Party to support her in a coalition, which gives her a tiny majority together. Diego Rivera says, Ben, are you having a sexual relationship with Russell the alien? No, that's actually his sister I am, but it's Russell. But Russell approves because I think he'll make a good brother-in-law for me. Mr. Mann says, child has no stake in the future. That's an interesting point, actually, because people said that about Angela Merkel, because she's got no children either. And I mean, it's a sad, it could well be, it's a sad thing. It could be that she's barren. I mean, she has been all her life, which is very, very sad. Or maybe she didn't want children. I don't know. But having children does change things. It really does. It changed me beyond belief when my daughter was born, even before she was born. It completely altered my perspective on life. It really, really does. If you've not had kids, if you have them, you'll know what I mean. Diego Rivera says, where are you? Well, where are we now? Tory fucked by the DUP. Yeah, the DUP was an interesting position, actually, because they could have said no. They basically had her by the short and curlies, didn't they? For a while, she basically had to kiss their posteriors, which is a bit ironic because at the very, very same time, all the tabloids were going crazy about Jeremy Corbyn negotiating with Sinn Féin, and calling him basically he's an IRA supporter and stuff like that because he talked to Jerry Adams and these other people in Sinn Féin. And the truth of the matter is, Corbyn only did what John Major did several years later, that is, negotiate with the IRA. Corbyn did it earlier than that, and he did it a few years earlier. That's all. And then, of course, look what May did. May funded. She's the DUP are like essentially the unionist equivalent. I mean, they've actually acted as a mouthpiece for the various. I don't know which one it is of the various groups that are on the loyalist side in the Northern Ireland Troubles. But she acted as a political wing of basically those organisations. Oh, I don't know if it applies to the modern DUP, but I know Ian Paisley, the founder and long-term leader, the man, he was very apologistic about the paramilitaries, even though they killed over 700 people in the course of the Troubles. Villanova, Germany has got what they want. No, I mean, the thing is, Merkel's gone now, but the person they got in has been called Mini Merkel because it's a member of her party. It's almost like the closest thing, I suppose, she's got to her daughter. Looks exactly like her, and has the same policies. Colin Snuggs, hang on, let me just block you. Colin, you are not allowed on this. I've just removed your comment. Colin is blocked. I know you think you can fool me. I know you comment on the blogs, don't you? But you are. I'm not going to go into that now. But you are up Droid's ass, and I don't want anything to do with you. Line Spec says Linda Moulton medal for PM. Linda Moulton how? Now that would be good, but the problem is, I'd love her to be Prime Minister, but the problem is, she'd be shot she'd last as long as I did. She'd be shot within a week. Stephen says, vote for lizards. You don't have to listen. L Lizard Beth, Steve071. That's right. Someone was having a go at me on social media today, going on about David Icke is a charlatan because he said the world's ruled by lizards. Well, Diego Rivera has just repeated the comment they made before. Well, Diego, the thing is, I think what's happened is if you make a comment and it doesn't appear, it just means it's kept back for moderation, and I'll approve it. So don't worry about that. Villanova, Gillette, the best a man can get. Yes. The best a man can get. Well, the thing is, the moment what Gillette want for men is for us to be for us to be hated, for others to hate us, and for us to hate ourselves, especially white men. And the reason is because it's all part of this mind control I've talked about before. It's cultural Marxism, and it's awful. I think it's terrible. Again, people have just said to me, "Look, what's the harm in it? It's just saying that men can be kind, and they can be well behaved. What's wrong with men being well behaved and respecting women and things like that?" And I said, as individuals, we should never tolerate improper behaviour between ourselves. But what the Gillette are saying in that advert is that there's something institutional in society which puts white heterosexual males in a kind of position of privilege and power where they inevitably behave in an abusive way on a kind of subconscious, tacit, collective level, because of this dynamic, because of this power dynamic. And that's essentially what they're saying. So it's something inherent in the WHM character, caused by this social dynamic, which causes them to abuse women, abuse black people, etc., etc. And I think that's false. I think it's a delusion, and it's a very dangerous delusion, and it needs to be challenged. I recommend Dr. Jordan Peterson, actually, because he's said so much about this, about how he's really taken this whole of thesis up to pieces. He's dissected it, and he's utterly thrown it into the trash. And so he's been outspoken about this Gillette ad as well. Villanora says, Brexit now. Pain and Death says, people already voted. Exactly. The people's vote happened. It happened in 2016. That was the people's vote. Villanora, hospital porters unite. Yes, indeed. Neptune Returns says, Brexit is fucking boring. Well, it's become like that. It's deliberately been made boring, Neptune Returns. That's the thing. They want us to get bored of it. They want us to get tired. They just want us to go, for God's sake, can we just forget it? It's not going to work. Let's forget it. Jago River, the people's voice. Oh, now the people's voice was something different. Of course, it was the TV thing that sadly was very short-lived, but was very hopeful. There was a lot of hope connected to that. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Pain and Death, the New World Order says, leave means leave, the EU dictatorship. Now, that was the vote. Yes. It does, you see. This is something that could have been, if it's something that could have been incredibly easy. I mean, there was no difficulty getting us in there was quite easy, wasn't it? I mean, we actually joined the EEC in I think 1973. Then there was the vote in 1975 where we voted to stay in this common market. There was no problem with that. There was no problem with all the other treaties, like the Maastricht Treaty and the Lisbon Treaty and all these other things that dragged us further and further in. That went smoothly. That went like a house on fire, didn't it? It was smooth. It was uninterrupted. It was completely streamlined into place. It was very easy to get into. Why is it so difficult to get out? Orbit 80, even though we voted incorrectly, we did. They're saying Orbit 80 Y says. See, it's the thing about referendums. They say, oh, we're giving people a choice, and you make your choice. And they say, sorry, that's the wrong choice. And the truth of the matter is, when Denmark voted against the Maastricht Treaty, there was like this. Someone in the commission said, we're just going to keep on giving them referendums till they give us the answer we want. So the question is, why have a referendum at all? The answer is, it's a ploy. It's a ploy to make people believe that they have a choice when they don't. Oh dear, I made a mistake. Yes, we all made a mistake. All we evil, racist, white van drivers made a mistake. Orbit 80 says, we need to vote again to get the scripted answer before the people's voice can be expected, the people's vote. Yeah, only then will it be called the people's vote. I think when we agree to stay in, that's when it will be the people's vote. Steve071 says, paper, scissors, stone, if no agreement. Yeah. That's it. No democracy, no. Am I shape-shifting Neptune Returns? Am I really? Diego Rivera says, just let the aliens take over. Well, you know, could they do a better job? Line specs. I saw a bit of reptilian skin there. I think that's my beard. It does look like reptilian, but it's actually just a bit of hair. It'll get bigger, actually. I'll do another live stream and you'll see me. Well, there were some videos, actually, I made, which you can see me with a big beard. Orbit 80 White says, Ben was shape-shifting between a badger and a duck-billed platypus earlier. That's why he's 10 minutes late for the stream. Oh, my God. Were you spying on me, Orbit? Clive Albert, hello. How are you? Welcome. Stephen says, let's just overturn every general election then. It's difficult to see a way out of this, actually. I mean, it's like, I don't know how this is going to end, Stephen. I really don't. And Pain and Death says they will rig it if there's another vote. They will. They'll rig it an awful lot more than they did last time. They were sloppy last time. Just like the Scotland outvote, says Orbit. Yes. In terms of the Scottish independence referendum, it's been proven there's people who filmed big boxes of yes votes on the no table. How do they get there? It's the secret filming in a polling station. Diego Rivera, things can only get better. Ben and Cox for PM. Oh my God. Oh, with him, dearie me, can you imagine it? Villanora, Lib Dems and Labour. Oh my God, gulags everywhere. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the problem. Is the thing that concerns me is if Jeremy Corbyn, if Labour wins, Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister, he might get 3 months, maybe 4. And then I said some pretty horrible people will be in his place, and that's when the good. Then seriously, you got to wonder. We'll be in a situation where some really evil people have power, and well, gulags. People think they might be gulags, well, maybe, and that's that is worrying, isn't it? It really is. Pain and death says, yeah, that's it. I've got 100% reptile brain, have I, Neptune returns? Well, the thing about it is, if I wouldn't know, if I have one, I wouldn't know what it was like not to have one, would I? It's like, I was thinking the other day about a dog, you know, what people are thinking they know what dogs are thinking and feeling. And I work with dogs a lot. And it's pretty clear they have like a personality, they have a consciousness. And the question is then, what's it like to actually, what's their consciousness like? And the answer is, it's actually not possible to know what it's like to be a dog unless you actually are one. And we happen not to be. They wouldn't know what it's like to be human unless they actually are one, and they're not. It's one of these sort of things. Grim Reaper, hello. Hi, Ben. Sorry I'm late. Not to worry. Phil, Phil, I know you. I didn't know you were Phil Hainsworth. All right, well, I'll know who you are in future. Hello, Phil. I know you by that name as well. I thought you were 2 separate people. Hello, Phil. Thanks for coming. Is Lime Specs? May is making a statement at 10 p.m. Right. Well, that was 10 minutes ago. Let's have a look at the news. I'm not going to watch it now. I'm just wondering if. Yeah, she has. She's made a statement. What's it say? I'm not going to watch it, but it's just. It says MPs must work together to deliver Brexit. Put aside some self-interest, work constructively together to find a way forward for Brexit. Oh, good grief. How can they utter these things? I mean, I don't know what it's like to lie that much. I've told all lies. Only Colin says, oh, Colin, you're still here. Let me just get rid of you again. Colin, bugger off. All right. Colin is Beats Art. Now, if you know, if I've talked about Beats Art before, and I've removed him from the forum, and he's because of his content. It's not because he disagrees with me and I can't answer his questions. It's because of his conduct, which is really appalling. Vrillon says Eurocats. Maybe cats can take over. Yeah. Stephen says you better dig up Maggie Thatcher then, because Michael Full. If I think up Margaret Thatcher, right? She's someone. She was like the bête noire when I was young. But I mean, I look back at it now and I think to myself, maybe she wasn't so bad. Well, she wasn't ideal, and she did some terrible things, especially to the NHS. But then, mind you, Blair did much worse to the NHS. But she had a good side. I mean, she was very anti-EU, which is why they got rid of her. I mean, when she was removed, it was effectively a coup d'etat. I mean, not technically, because I said there's no elected head of government, but they removed her from power against the rules of Parliament and the Conservative Party. So the reason was because she was anti-EU. So that the Iron Lady was actually nothing more than a paper dolly. And one of the journalists at the time said that the men in grey suits will decide, but he didn't actually outline exactly who the men in grey suits were. Steve071 says, and still the majority can't see through all their political bullshit. No. Steve, I just really hope that, because there's being so obvious now. I mean, like I said, there's no place for spin doctors anymore. They're bypassing the old processes of sweetening the pill, which means I do hope that enough people will to cross the 100th monkey threshold. I really do. Here we go. Pain and Death says, don't dig up Thatcher. That bitch cost enough to stick the bitch in the ground. Well, the thing is, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really serious about Thatcher. I mean, especially when the fact that the child abuse issue as well, and her involvement with that, or her turning a blind eye, things like that. That's another problem there. Vrillon says the political elite are doing a massive damage control effort. They are one of the biggest ever. Margaret Thatcher, the first zombie PM, says Diego Rivera. Yeah, I mean, she literally would be a zombie, wouldn't she? Yeah. Lib, Lab, Con, SNP, Green all work for the Bilderberg EU. It says FPV Angel. Yes, well, they all members of all those parties. At least I know members of Lib, Lab, Con, and SNP have attended the Bilderberg Group meeting. I know that Alex Salmond was a regular member. He was the first minister of Scotland. I don't know if the new one, what's her name, Jimmy Cranky, one who looks like Jimmy Cranky. I don't know if she's been to Bilderberg yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. Welcome, by the way, FPV Angel. Stephen, election or selection? Selection. FPV Angel says, no deal, full Brexit and reversal of all their policies. Ideally, see, that's the way to go forward. But the problem is that the whole situation is so manipulated that if any sort of no deal Brexit would literally be, they would take a sledgehammer to the entire country. They would destroy the economy. They destroy everything in order to as punishment. Vrillon Aura says Clement Attlee. Now he was I know he was the Labour Prime Minister at a certain point. I mean, I've Clement Attlee. Clement Attlee was Labour Party politician who served as Prime Minister from 1945 to 1951. All right. Yeah, so, yeah, what about him? What about him, Vrillon? Lime Spec says, rumour is, will you reply to a comment to something I said at the time? Okay. She will just be making a statement of reassurance. It's kind of like that, Lime Specs. Basically, she's been saying, it's the usual flannel. These speeches could almost write themselves, couldn't they? MPs must put self-interest aside and work constructively to deliver Brexit. I mean, this is the sort of thing you could have predicted she would say before it even happened. Oh. WTF terms more like, yeah, WTO, all right, you're replying to what I said at the time. Yeah, Brexit in our time, I hope so. Hi, Benny. Hi, Tiberius Kirk. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me, TK. Hope you like the beard. I was talking to TK, actually, a ZXR Alien Warrior. I was talking to him. I was the first person I told about my protest beard. Mel O'Brien says they will extend the deadline for another 2 years and they'll want another referendum. After that, they'll frighten the British voters half to death. Yeah, that's probably the most likely thing. And if they need another 2 years on top of that, they'll get another 2 years. If they need another 5 years on top of that, they'll get another 5 years. FPV Angel, using fake refugees as voters too. Well, yeah, they did that in the United States. I know that they're using immigration as a tool in many ways at the moment. It's pretty awful. And as I've said before, this does not justify any feelings of hostility towards individual immigrants at all. As I said, I live with two of them and they're great guys. So don't get angry with them, but be aware that this is something that's not being allowed to happen. It's being made to happen. And all of us are victims in this. Grim Reaper says, no Fugals in here, I hope. Who's a Fugal? Disgrace, says Angel. What's that? I know some of you are replying to things I said at the time, so I'll try and remember what that is. Mel O'Brien says, the people voted to leave, so why haven't they left? Yeah, it won't happen. Well, hi, Mel. How you doing, by the way? Vrillon, all right, I want to be a refugee to Russia. Well, you know, that might actually, depending on how things are going, if Putin carries on the way he's going, it might not be a bad idea, actually, because Putin is actually on a course. He's not doing what he's told by his lords and masters on a very fundamental level. He's the Russian Trump. And if he continues to be successful, it may well be that Russia will turn into a truly revolutionary anti-New World Order force, in which case, yeah, I mean, just go there. I mean, if the planned civil war breaks out in Europe, which is what is planned, it may be the only place we'll be safe. V8 Mo says, pretty much screwed up our chances of moving abroad. 5 years of hard work. Down. Well, you see, V8 Mo, it shouldn't do. You see, people have lived abroad before EU. If they're screwing up your chances now, it's not because with Brexit. It's because they want to sabotage the whole situation. They want to basically carry out a scorched earth destruction of the entire country just out of spite or out of punishment or out of attempt to reverse it or whatever it is, for that reason. So you don't blame Brexit, blame the people who are messing it around. Theresa May is a skexis, says Orbit. I think it means skexis. You say skexi. I think it means skexis. Now this is a monster from The Dark Crystal, which is actually a Jim Henson movie, the guy who made The Muppet Show, things like that. He produces a really good fantasy movie called The Dark Crystal, which is really, really good. And the skexis, he's true, she doesn't look like one of these strange, monstrous creatures. Stephen says, is it Corbyn or Corbitz? Corbyn. Deal or no deal, Ben, says Diego Rivera. I think I'll call the banker. Skexis. Skexis. Angel says a space agency means they work together. Orbit 80, still trying to pronounce Skexis, probably. Theresa May looks like a corpse. Yes. And Mel O'Brien says most of these politicians look like the Walking Dead. It's interesting, but they do, don't they? And they do it after they get into power. They do seem to turn into these like sort of animated cadavers. It's funny that Corbyn used the term zombie government. Because, as I said, it may have something to do with archonic possession. And I really do. Lizard, says Stephen. Yeah, I mean... Brilliant Aura says, I need some booze to help me through Brexit. I'm going to have some, I'll tell you. I'm not having any tonight, but I will have some probably Friday. Brilliant Aura says, if they do, we kick out their nationals. I wouldn't... You see, there's going to be a lot of blame and finger-pointing. And V8 Mo says, pretty much screwed up our chances of moving abroad. I'm sorry about that, V8, but it's nobody's... The only fault is the people who've sabotaged the whole thing, because it would be very, very easy. What should have happened, what would have happened in a fair society, the vote would have happened, Article 50 would be triggered, and by now we'd be well and we'd be sailing clean, and you'd be able to sort out your residential permits with the EU and everything like that, and all the other problems. These synthetic engineered problems would not be there. The reason that there is because of this basically scorched earth policy they have. Oh, I've got to scroll up now. Where are we? It's almost suddenly flicks to the bottom, which is always a bit of a... Where are we now? Okay. I don't go too far. Where are we? Sorry, guys. Blimey, where are we going now? Oh, okay, I think I found where we were. So it's nobody's fault. This just sort of happens every now and again. More lizards, yeah, okay. I need some booze, okay. And where are we? Right. Get Trump to build his wall around us. That's what the Ramonas think everyone wants to do. They think basically Britain's going to turn into a nation of Nazis who build a wall and around the wall, and everyone who's black or in any way non-white will just be thrown over this wall brutally. I want to be free too, Vrillon, yeah. Get Trump to shag May, says Virtue Returns. Oh, what's he done to deserve that? Digital Pirates Productions. Hello, Digital Pirates Productions. Magna Carta time. Yes, the pantomime was boring me. Did you see the show I did on the Wide Awake UK, which had John Hurst in? He's very interesting in that respect. Grim Reaper says, will we now need a passport to go to Ireland if we leave the EU? Well, Grim Reaper, did we need a passport to go to Ireland before the EU? I don't think we did, because the border, I know, was created, the border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic was created in 1920, I think, a century or so ago, when it was the Irish Free State. And because of the agreement they had at the time, it was free travel, dual citizenship for everyone, etc., etc. Now, Ireland left the British Commonwealth in 1947. There were no problems there. So, and as far as I know, if there's no problems then, why is there a problem now? The reason is because I said they want a problem. They want to put a problem in the way. And this is how they do it. Simon Doyle says, Shit Creek's the new name for the Irish Sea in the channel. Steve071 probably has Neptune. Mel O'Brien, the Irish media is full of anti-Brexit propaganda and fear-mongering. They talk of no deal, no Brexit, a second referendum, outrageous. Our country is controlled by traitors. Well, Mel, you know, that's Peter Sutherland's influence. Unfortunately, they were all behind it. They were behind the abortion thing as well. The Eighth Amendment, they were behind that too. It's the whole thing. Basically, it's ironic actually. You Irish, you know, 800 years fighting for independence, less than 100 years into it. You know, I'm not blaming the Irish people, but your country sold out to another foreign occupier. I think a lot of Irish people maybe. I've talked about this before, and I don't want to insult or anger any Irish people, but there is this sort of mental block about the EU, which is you can have no other foreign enemy but Britain. It's really deeply ingrained in your culture. And I'm talking exactly the same I'd say for the Welsh, and I am Welsh myself. Exactly the same I'd say for Scotland. That the only enemy you can ever possibly have is Britain, and once you beat that enemy, basically you can have no other foreign enemy. And that's false. Orbit 80Y says, only if we make him wear a Savage Razor dildo. Thing that Kevin Spacey made that go, wait. Oh, God. Oh, my God, that was horrible. Yeah, in 7, you know. Diane Abbott, I wondered when that name would come about. And Pain and Death to the New World Order says, one of the most accurate things I've actually seen in this chat, Diane Abbott is a racist bitch. Yes. Short sentence, very true. Brilliant Laura says, imagine Owen Jones as PM. He couldn't do a worse job than the ones they got now, but I don't think he'd last very long. Actually, I don't think he'd be shot, but he would probably rub people up the wrong way and have to be kicked out. Neptune Turner says they want to put the Irish off Irexit. Yes. Also, Dennis O'Brien owns most of the media, and he's against Brexit and Trump. Yeah, this guy. I mean, I've heard the name Dennis O'Brien. I'm not looked into him, but I think he's a chip off the old Sutherland block, and they are. I mean, Ireland's in a terrible state, you know, with your national debt and things like this, and the various loans that from the World Bank that Sutherland manipulated you into having. It's been deliberate, yeah. And it's really sad. I mean, it's a real difficult thing. Ireland's well and truly jumped in with both feet. You're in the Euro, you're in the Schengen zone, and things like that. Bloody horrible. Vernon Roy says, grow a beard, fuck Gillette. Yeah. Stephen Freestone, hello, welcome, Stephen. Stephen, yes, Theresa May did make an announcement, and it was as boring and predictable as I thought it would be. Vernon Roy says, I bet she says Brexit in 2099. Vernon, have you've got an exclusive peek view at next week's speech that she gives? Orbit 80 says, Stephen Freestone, where have you been? We've been waiting. I've been worried sick. Oh, well, he's here now. Villanova says, until then, we just do as Herr Juncker says. Herr Juncker, yeah, Juncker's bonkers, as Cosmic Claire said. What's happening in Luxembourg anyway? In Luxembourg, I mean, he was Prime Minister of Luxembourg originally, and now he's a bloody head of the EU Commission. I mean, doesn't that count as treason? Professor Fez, hello. I think Steve is at work. Do you mean Steve mumbling? He's been very quiet in this live stream. I think he's at work, is he? All right. Because, yeah, I mean, I know what time it is in Australia. Maybe Susan is at work too. Yeah. Professor Fez says, prostrate and gamble. Yeah. Oh, they're horrible. I mean, they're a horrible company. And could talk about them for ages. Neon blue goatee, Ben. Will that suit you, says Professor Fez. My goodness me. I'd start to, oh, yeah, well, I could go undercover to an Antifa rally, I suppose. Mark Hollingsworth says, right, what's going on? Has the shit hit the fan? Have 4 horsemen turned up? You roll on the end of March. And, oh, God. And one thing you would say for this bloody world, I mean, it's whatever else it might be, it's never boring, is it? It's everything else, but it's not boring. Paul Armstrong says, get fucked, Liberace. Well, you're glad to know he's quiet now, which is good. I did have to have a word with him, actually. I mean, it's his flat, and he likes to play the piano. I did ask him to put earphones on, because it's like an electric thing. It's like a Hammond thing or something. And he said he can't do that, because it hurts. He doesn't get the right sort of thing on his ears. It hurts his ears. But he's quite an old guy, actually. But I did say, you know, can you just try to keep it to a minimum. It wasn't a problem in my old room, but I'm right under his room now. I'm right under the room where he's got the piano. Diego Rivera says that British Bigfoot voted Brexit. Good on him, says Vrillon. Yes. Well, I'd like to shake his furry hand. Professor Fez says Theresa May's job not for much longer. Yeah. Professor Fez, I can't see, you know, she's had her 9 lives now, I think. She can't carry on. It's even the immovable object eventually has to meets the irresistible force. And I think she'll be gone soon. Once she's no longer useful, they'll get rid of her. Neptune says Diego loves Israel. Well, Diego's got the word Israel in his or her name now. I think it's his. I think he's told me it was his. Stephen says vote for Bigfoot. I'd have Bigfoot as Prime Minister, yeah. I had to do it. Stop the ADL, yeah, the Anti-Defamation League. Anti-Defamation League is the organisation that called David Icke an anti-Semite. God. That's where a lot of this bollocks comes from. John Smith, hello. I appreciate your feedback on my old comments. Hope you're well. I often think about Brexit, that we are actually controlled more by central banking system and the American corporations more than Europe. Yeah, well, Brexit actually is not the end of the New World Order. The reason I'm enthusiastic about Brexit is that Brexit represents a massive breakdown in the agenda. And if it went ahead, it would literally mean that the New World Order was teetering on its last legs. I mean, I think that's good. This is probably going to end with Britain being crowbarred back into the EU. But of course, as I said in the previous live stream, the EU itself is in a really bad way. And pretty soon there's going to be nothing left to leave, I hope. And it can only end well. I mean, I'm optimistic. I think this is going to be fun. It can't end any other way but well for us, because the government are going to come out with egg on their face no matter what the outcome is. And it's going to expose so much that I think it may be enough, that one situation may be enough to push us over the 100th monkey line. Professor Fez, yes, Spain, France, Italy, it's the beginning of the dominoes, exactly. Not to mention Eastern Europe, Austria, parts of Scandinavia, they're turning against it. The tide is turning, it really is. Steve071, send Bigfoot to Downing Street. I'd like to see that, because then you'd see Theresa May going, it'd scare the hell out of her, wouldn't it? Steve, Neptune Returns says, Ben fantasizes about a relationship with Diane Abbott. Neptune Returns, if you're a mind reader, you're not doing a very good job. That name, of course, is going to come up. She's one of the worst people in the sort of like Jeremy Corbyn slipstream. And I cannot stand her. She's not only a racist and a sexist. She's unqualified for her job, and she can't even do basic arithmetic. And the only reason she got in there in the first place is because Labour are so damn politically correct. They just have to have a black woman there, and she's really played on this. I mean, she can't make a speech without saying, "I'm a black woman," you know, as if I look at her and think she's some kind of Chinese gentleman. Yes, Diane, I know you're a black woman. We can tell you're a bloody black woman, all right? But she has to keep saying it over and over again. The reason is because it's the basis of her entire political career. I do not fantasize about a relationship with her at all. That I absolutely assure you. Villain Aura, good old Ben in the Beard Club, perfect gentleman. It won't be permanent, Villain. It'll be for I don't know how long. I'm going to have to cut it off when I go to Denmark. She's in about 3 weeks' time, but I'll just see how it goes. Like I said, I don't care if they keep the bloody ad up. That's a good thing. If Gillette keep that ad up, it'll go against them even worse. Steve071 with a grey. You mean Russell's sister? Yeah. Professor Fez says you had them all in one place yesterday. You could have called Guy Fawkes. The only man who ever entered Parliament with honourable intentions. Yes. John Smith. Well said. Farm animals. Yes. Steve071. Get a pipe to go with the beard, Ben. Oh my God. Then I'd look like James Randi. Oh. Bernora says Diane Abbott's so good at maths. Yeah, there's a list of all of the various things where she she just cocks up completely when she's. I mean, even Corbyn has had to stop her doing public appearances because every time she opens her mouth, she loses Labour 100,000 votes. I mean, I know he can't sack her. The thing about Corbyn is he cannot sack Diane Abbott. Firstly, because she's a black woman, and secondly, they have a kind of history. In fact, in the early 80s, when they were both young MPs, they were on together. They had a little bit of a liaison. I'd accredited him with better taste, I must say. Angry Chappers, hello, says, anyone that wants to stay in the EU after all of the EU bullying must be a retard. That's interesting because that's the exact opposite of what the tweet I quoted said. They said anyone who wants Brexit now must be crazy. And yeah, I mean, Andrew Chappers, that to me is the obvious way of looking at it. The obvious way is that yes, really, it's obvious what's happening here. This is why it can only come out well. It can only come out well. Tink123, Tink123. A name so important they have to repeat it, just like New York, New York. The hidden agenda so clear to see. They all moan about her deal, then vote confidence in her as her government. Joke. No one dare mention Finchley Road, the biggest money laundering scam in human history. Yeah, indeed, the biggest human trafficking scams incident as well. Yeah, I mean, what you said is, it is so clear to see now. I mean, in a sense, we conspiracy theorists have been proved right. We've kind of been proven right, haven't we? Because it's all the things we've said now. They're talking about it openly. They're actually saying these things. And I mean, the exposure of the child abuse is one, I think, one of the most difficult secrets that come out, which for people to actually deal with, to cope with. And this is another subject. I'll have to do another video about this, but the whole child abuse thing is so big, it's so deep, it's so disgusting, it's so rancid that it's one of these bigger than big secrets, of course, along with 9/11 and the UFOs and things like that. But this is probably the one which I think will shock the people the most. I think it will shock people more than the truth about 9/11 or the UFO issue, because this is really, it's beyond evil, and it's so prevalent. It's when the truth comes out about the entire scale of the child abuse scandal, you're going to walk down the streets and you're going to see people weeping. I described this scene actually in my latest book. Diego Rivera says, Ben and Diana Abbott porno vid starring Ben Dover. I would watch that. Ben Dover can do that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Pain and Death to New World said, I vote Guy Fawkes. Yeah. Stephen said, send a crypto alien team to number 10 to zap them with a beam gun. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Neptune turn. Ben's into race mixing Ben Abbott Jones. Neptune returns. That's the alt-right line. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem with her colour. As I said, there's no doubt. The moment anyone criticises Diane Abbott, they're called racist. Indeed, she's encouraged this herself. But the truth of the matter is, I don't give a damn what colour she is. I loathe her for what she said and what she's done and what her behaviour and the things she's said. And the fact that she is incompetent. That's what I've got against her. I don't care what colour she is. I don't actually. If she was a nice-looking black lady, I would. It would be very, very different. I'm just saying I don't fancy her because I don't fancy her. It's not because she's black. I'm quite happy. There are plenty of black women who are nice, who are attractive. Real and Aura says L'Oreal Man expert beard oil, very good. Yes. Jack Daw says, Israeli Air Force coming to the UK in September at RAF Coningsby to take part in their first ever exercise with the RAF. Exercise Cobra Warrior. Also Germany and Italy taking part. Oh, I see. It's not right. So we're going to see them kind of like zooming along the valleys and stuff like that. Jack. Yeah, I mean, I wonder what, that's interesting. I wonder why. Also, Germany and Italy taking part. I wonder what that's about. Something to do with the Middle East, maybe. Diego Rivera says, would the English do porn? He must come across a few porno mags in the bushes. Oh, you mean the Bigfoot? Did you see? Oh, there was a really funny Family Guy thing, the British Family Guy, when they all go to England and there's like British porn, and they're sitting there drinking tea, and the Englishman said, "Would you please expose your breast for a moment?" And she says, "Later, dear, much later," and that's the end of the porn video. That's so funny. Steve071 says, "Does the guy upstairs know any other tune or an actual tune?" He does know a few tunes. He plays some good ones sometimes, but he does scales like that's scales. That's like exercising for pianists. He sings sometimes as well. Tink123 times 2 says, "No one is mentioning GCHQ, MI6, CIA, FBI. All went rogue and made up Russian gate lies. Read POTUS. POTUS will get them in the end. He's setting them up beautifully." I hope so. I do worry about Trump, and I think to myself, the President of the United States, I know that he's in trouble, and I know he's in danger, and I just sort of like, it's like you see people saying, "Pray for President Trump." And bloody hell, I do. I really do. I don't often pray, but I pray for him. Stephen says, "Has he got any Beethoven?" I don't know. I think he does. All right, it's good. He's getting better. Well, I haven't noticed myself. Ben, would you wear a Boris wig? Says Diego Rivera. I might do for fun, actually. Yes. Steve071. He might be deaf like Beethoven. He's not deaf, but he but I sort of think he sort of acts as if he is. And Neptune Return says he'd be good at composing music. Yes. Send in the paratroopers, says Stephen. Yeah. Bonnet Darn. Hello, Bonnet. How are you? Ben, how come you're not down with Nigel Farage? He seems genuine to me. Of course, I don't know for sure. Give me the lowdown, rude boy. Peace from Nottingham City. Hello, Bonnet. Hi. I used to know Nottingham very well. Farage, I don't think he is genuine. His behaviour, certainly in the last couple of months, has made me more than suspicious of him. And as explained earlier in the video. David Schultz. Ben, what are your thoughts on the yellow vest movement in France? It's now in its ninth weekend. I'm really encouraged, David. I think, unlike like the Occupy thing, which I think was very quickly taken over by the Tavistock Institute, it may even been created by these various organisations, and David Icke did a big exposure on that. But so did the Kent Freedom Movement, actually, even though I've sort of fallen out with them. They did a very good article on the Occupy movement. The Yellow Vest movement doesn't seem to be controlled opposition. It seems to be a genuine grassroots reaction. It's triggered by the whole issue to do with carbon tax, but it seems to have spread into other areas. Virulent Aura says, "Get the army out, all snowflakes." Professor Fess, ask him to play Land of Hope and Glory. Professor, I don't know if he does. I don't know if he actually does requests. I'll explain I'm doing a live stream, and maybe he will. Virulent Aura says, equals unruly class. Clausum, hello, Clausum. How are you? Reminds me of the old neighbour I had who played keyboard all night. Oh, dear. A great stream about Brexit. Hope UK come to some sort of plan. I do too, Clausum. I mean, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And, as I said earlier, this is hopeful. I mean, this can only come out well in the long run for us. Tink says, MSN is controlled by Adam Schiff. Yeah, well, that name, I wondered if he was related to Jacob Schiff, the guy who basically sent money to the Bolsheviks in 1917. And he got Trotsky into Russia and things like that. Dark Intel, who do a news drop every 4 a.m. stories not allowed to cover, hence the UK shutdown. D-Notice, all right. What was that all about? Read the Yellow Vests. Because someone actually I actually announced that my yellow vest was coming through the post, and here it is. It's arrived. But someone said to me, Ben, you might not get it. It may not arrive in the post. And then someone else posted, well, look, they the thing about it is, it's in a sense this is the nanny state backfiring because it's working for us. They can't ban these things because the nanny state, which is often used to entrap people, is now working in our favour because you see, we need them for safety, health and safety, don't we? Cyclists have to have them, horse riders, guys working on the road. I mean, one of the reasons I bought mine actually was for work. I bought it because I want to wear it for as a protest reason. But to be honest, I remember thinking I actually need it for work because I spend a lot of time walking on roads and things like that when I'm walking dogs and things like that. So I actually need the yellow vest. Ben, start the see-through the vest movement. See-through vest. That's that porn thing again, Israeli. Diego Rivera. Stephen says they're desperate to stay. An outlaw in-law. Hello, outlaw in-law. There's no democracy. It's fiction. Stephen, I'll get my Panzer out. That's a tank. Are you German, Stephen? Because Panzer actually means, it means panther, but it also is a word for a tank, any tank. Oh my goodness me. What will Michael Shrimpton think? Stephen Freestone. They're desperate to stay within the EU. That's two comments into one. Yes, absolutely. Mel O'Brien says, Lisbon Treaty 2. They held the ballots over the weekend in Ireland to guarantee success in their endeavours. Evil is what evil is, who evil does. I should share. Have I shared this bloody thing? I don't think I have I? I always forget. Did any of you guys share it? Because I always damn well forget to share it on social media. Oh God, I'll do it now. Hang on, there we are. Facebook. On Facebook, and it automatically starts on Twitter. I think. Well, I'll share it on Twitter. I always bloody forget this. Could one of you guys remind me next time? Ben, share it on as soon as it starts. Share it on social media. Okay, I'll post it to Google Plus as well there. Well, they'll get the recording anyway. Oops, sorry, I don't want to shut that. I almost shut the bloody screen. I don't want to do that. Evil is, yeah, evil, yeah. Lisbon Treaty 2. Oh, right, Mel, they're going to keep, they will. Ballots over the weekend in Ireland to guarantee success for their endeavours. Evil is what evil does. Ignorance is no excuse. Lisbon Treaty 2, what's that all about? 69 Phuket. Hello, Phuket, how are you? Moustache by Sparks. I grew it real small. My Jewish friends would never call. Like, you mean like a toothbrush moustache? Yeah. Oh, it says you have Jewish friends. What's wrong? No, look, it's not the Jews, all right? You mustn't think the Jews are behind the New World Order because they're not. Hi, fucked, says Neptune returns. Oh, Phuket, right. It's not the Jews. I've done an entire video called Jews, which explains why the Jews are innocent in this whole conspiracy. But of course, some people say that video is just code for saying the Jews are not innocent. And you can't win when it comes to anti-Semitism. You're going to be called it no matter what you say. You know, it's absolutely unavoidable because it's a completely unfalsifiable hypothesis. We voted, give us our Brexit. No deal, says everyone. Yeah, I know. That's it, isn't it? And Tink says, UK people are forgetting that they are divine sovereign beings under sovereign rule, hence Merkel's speech. People would have to give up their sovereign rights. Yeah. It's a song. Oh, is it a song? Is it? Mel O'Brien says, I hope British people reject a second referendum and not behave like Irish sheeple. Best of two or three won't happen. Well, Mel, I think it will. Well, there won't be a third referendum, but if somehow we get a leave victory in a second referendum, which is very unlikely, they'll still find some way around it. They will find some way. They'll find some way to fiddle it. They really will. Just watch them. An outlaw in-law says, did you know there's never been a legal vote allowed for the people as in the referendum? Is that right? I mean, so are you saying the 2016 referendum was unique in that respect? Beetlejuice71. Hello, Beetlejuice. Thanks for joining us. I don't agree. I know how Remainers want now. I know Remainers who now want to leave. All right. There was actually a video of a guy on Twitter earlier. He was an Asian chap who originally been a Remainer. He's now switched to leave. And he gave a really good speech. It was like just 5 minutes, but it was really good. Everyone must vote, says Tink. This time we have to smash the message home. Otherwise, what's the point? The thing about it is, I would say that it really won't do any good, Tink. I mean, it would be, I suppose, would it make any difference, actually, if Leave wins somehow? Firstly, I think it's very unlikely they will. As I said, the government was going to screw us properly this time. But if it was, and then there still was no Brexit, they would find they'd get around it somehow. I think it's not going to happen. An outlaw in-law said there was no vote in 72. Yes, in 1972 when we joined the EEC, then the referendum was in 1975 was to leave the Commonwealth, and the recent one was decided by the House of Commons. Anyone starting to see a picture? Well, the referendum in 1975 was not to leave the common market; it was to join the common market. But some politicians were speaking out and saying they knew what was coming. Tony Benn, for example, who I really miss, actually. He was a brilliant man. And he really had his heart and his head in the right place. he said, this is going to be the United States of Europe. Don't vote. Don't agree to go into the common market. And of course, if the EU is something so wonderful, why didn't they just say we're going to create a federation, a European federation that will drag us all in? Why didn't they just admit it from the start? Why did they bring us into it slowly and surely by gradualism? If it's something so wonderful. Because it's not something wonderful. I know people wouldn't agree to it. That's why. Phil, all right, I will vote leave. Okay, well, Phil, I've not made up my mind what I'm going to do. Okay, I've not decided 100% I'm going to boycott. It's just, that's where I'm going at the moment, but I may change my mind. I'm open to persuasion. I've got a bit of coffee here and I've got some of this. 69 Phuket says, I voted out because I knew it would cause this disruption. Well, you know, this could be what, there could be the good chaos that Robert Anton Wilson used to talk about. Because, and Terence McKenna, they used to say, creative chaos rather than destructive chaos. That's a big subject, but I think that's the situation we're in. Mel O'Brien says, surely the British people can see the duplicity, the treason, the rejection of democratic votes. I think, Mel, enough of them might be able to push us over the 100th monkey point. And this is why I say this can only do good. This is why we should welcome what's happening at the moment, because no matter what happens, that is the outcome. That is what's going to happen. Whatever, no matter what happens, this will be the effect of it. Because it's obvious the government are desperately, they're throwing everything they can at stopping Brexit. I've never seen them. I've never seen the British government go to such extreme lengths. At the same time, they're abandoning all sort of stealth and subtlety and tact. They're going full hell-bent for leather. The gloves are off. The mask has fallen. Spin doctors are out of a job, like I said, and that's really great. Stephen says, this situation is creating a vacuum so big. It is, and that's good. Outlaw in-law says, referendums are not legally binding. And that's, I saw, yeah, that poster I saw. Someone put up a poster in Oxford saying, not legally binding. Because a lot of the Ramonas were just saying this out and out. They were saying, forget the bloody referendum. We want to stay in. Just say no, we're not going to do it. I voted for anarchy, says 69 Phuket. Isn't that a bit of a contradiction, Phuket? Voting for anarchy? Mellow Bright says, forget mumbling. He's a moron, not worth the time. A lot of people have, a lot of people saying I should just stop replying to Steve mumbling. And there's going to be very limited. If I reply to him again, it won't be about the moon landings. And I may make a couple more videos about things he said, and then that's going to be it. Because it is a bit of a lost. It is a bit of a. I feel that we're talking at cross purposes. There's no real debate going on here. He's just going, oh, it's a steaming pile, and then saying whatever comes into his head and misrepresenting me. So I think Stephen, he's not coming. I said he could come on the Panmo show. I'm not going to. Not after the things he said actually in his last video about the moon. I thought that was out of order. Outlaw in-law says the votes are decided by the House of Commons, not by the people. Technically, but although they did pass the Referendum Act into law, which basically said that they're going to go along with the vote of the people. That's the whole point of a referendum. And this is what they won't do now. They're trying to find a way out of it. Tink123 says, Tony Blair guilty in Scott Young banker murder for 800 million and up to his neck in money laundering, re Finchley Road, along with Cameron, Amber Rudd, Beckhams, and 40 lords and loads more mega names. Well, this is I've heard about this, and I just wonder if we're ever going to see this in court. I hope so. Edwardian lady says, Ben, everyone I know is so pissed off about the Brexit debacle. Even Remainers would vote leave. Well, you know, Edwardian lady, I'd like to welcome. I mean, I really appreciate the Remainers who have seen through this. I really appreciate that, and I mean, I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to do if there's a second referendum. I really haven't, but this may be an example of us we're nudging close to the 100th monkey point. I really hope so. An outlaw in-law says Gina Miller case is one example. Oh yes, the People's Challenge. Oh, they keep saying this People's thing on it, and it's not. Basically, the People's Challenge was Gina Miller, who's a lawyer and is not in any way involved in politics, and a few other really horrible little insulated little middle-class fools basically went to the High Court and said, you know, we just want to stop this, please. And it was really disgusting. I felt such contempt for her. I thought she was such a horrible person. Ms. Gina Miller. Ugh. An outlaw in-law says, it beggars belief how so many are so blind. Yeah. Hugo Rune, hello. Ben, you still spout the same shit, Ben. Jews are not the only Semites. They are a tiny minority of Semites. Arabs too are Semites. Oh, Hugo, cut me some slack, will you? I'm using a popular word, and I know what you're saying is true. Okay. It's not me spouting the same shit. It's me using essentially an idiom. Now I know we discussed this over the. I know you and I have talked about the Celtic issue as well, and it's very similar. Jews, a Semite actually refers to, it's actually a language group, essentially, just like Celtic in the modern world is a language group. Semitic languages includes Hebrew, and it includes, this is colloquial Hebrew, which is essentially a constructed language. It's something that was originally not used. It was only used in ceremonial purposes originally, but when the Zionist movement actually introduced it as a colloquial language. In fact, there's a difference between colloquial Hebrew and biblical Hebrew. But Semitic language also includes Arabic, and it includes Amharic, which is the language of Ethiopia. And I know they're all, you could say, if that's how you define Semites as people who speak Semitic languages, then Hugo, yes, they are all Semites. In the same way that if you define Celtic, I mean, the word Celtic in the modern world is misused terribly. We talk about Celtic nations and Celtic people, but in racial terms, there's no people who are Celtic in racial terms, I believe, and there's no countries which have, say, a Celtic culture as such. But there are countries which speak a Celtic language, including Wales, where I come from. It's a language I can still speak a bit. I'm subfluent now, but I used to speak it a lot better. So, so that's basically what. Well, when I say anti-Semitic, that's all right. I'm just using a popular term, which is inaccurate, but it's just what everyone keeps saying. And it's like these words do emerge and they stick. It's like saying crop circle. The word crop circle is used to describe any mark now in a crop field, in a cornfield or any other kind of field, which is made by mysterious means or by the plankers or whatever. We call it a crop circle, even if it's not circular, because they started off as circles and they became more complicated over the years. There's many that have no circular structures in them at all. We still call them crop circles. It's just a word that sticks. Virulent Aura says BBC. With Lady Y says an outlaw. Yeah. It beggars belief how so many are blind. Yeah. Referendums are not legally binding, says Outlaw in Law. You voters have been deceived. Well, that's what the Ramonas were saying. And then the politicians said, no, we're going to honour the referendum. And over the next 2.5 years, they did everything they could not to honour it. Stephen says, Tony Blair still has protection like all the other ones. Yeah, he does, because if protection was ever withdrawn, he'd be dead the next day because he's so unpopular. An outlaw in-law says the recent referendum was decided by the House of Commons, not the common people. Or is it? Well, he or she says underneath, there's never been a vote allowed by the common people, even when they joined the EEC. That's an irrefutable fact. Is that right? I thought of course, Parliament decides on to have a referendum, but I mean, do you mean that they have the option of refusing the referendum? Is that what you're saying? Because they do. Technically, in the law, they can. Tink says, the UK crown was hijacked by the Vatican by murder of Bolshevik and Romanov lines and Queenie marrying a Nazi, so not the strongest divine bloodline. No, it's based on a huge lie since World War II. Oh, before then, Tink, before then. I mean, the actual, the House of Windsor, the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha are actually usurpers. There's a guy called John King who's written a whole book on this. It's very interesting. He's a guy who researched the Princess Diana murder, and it was a murder. And it's all connected with that. Basically, the Russian royal family and the German and the British were all part of this Habsburg bloodline, and it just goes to show, that they don't have any. They will get rid of one of their own subline. They'll get rid of one of their own people if they have to for an agenda. They allowed the Tsar Nicholas and his family to be basically gunned down by the Bolsheviks. They were killed by the Red Army during the Russian Civil War in a cellar. They were just shot dead. I wrote an article about it because it was the 100th anniversary a few months ago. They have no sentimentality. They show no loyalty to each other. If it's something to think, if you are in a position where you ever offered a chance to join the Illuminati. Outlaw in-law says, I bet with anyone that it's true. Okay, well, outlaw in-law, if you're correct, I'll expect that. Villain, all right, jawohl, Herr Juncker. Says Villain, I will keep the transition. It shall last till 2099, and the British dogs will be the vassal state of the EU SS. Yeah, that's what they got planned, man, you know? Oh, yeah. Bros. B-R-O-S. Do you mean Boris? Neptune returns? And Atwin says, yes, in evil indeed, they have no power. It's one big fraud. There's still quite a lot of people watching, actually. 45 people watching. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in to watch. Much appreciated. Mel O'Brien says, politicians are supposed to respect the wishes of their constituents. No chance. Heath was blackmailed into the EU due to his paedophilic murders. Yeah, that's now finally coming out into the public about Ted Heath, even though many, many people, David Icke and many other people, were saying this long, long ago. One of the ways they control people is through vice. They get you into compromising situations so they can blackmail you. And that's one of the ways they control these figureheads, these public relations officers that we call leaders and politicians. An outlaw in-law says they are magicians. They're black magicians, outlaw in-law. Isabella Kazmarek. Hello, I am from Poland. Oh, welcome, Isabella. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming in all the way over from Poland. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone who greets Isabella. Thank you. It's really nice that she's here. Yeah, thank you, all of you. Mel O'Brien, people are beginning to realise that democracy is a sham. Well, honestly, Mel, if they don't realise it with what's happening at the moment, they're never going to. Because it's just so obvious. If this doesn't push us over the 100th monkey point, I wonder what else is going to be necessary. Professor Fair says Robinson as a symptom. Tommy Robinson, I think I think he's being used. I mean, he has quite a narrow view of what's going on in the world. I don't believe he's a racist. I don't believe he's a Nazi and all these other things that people call him, the people on the left call him. But I think he's being used. I think he's insincere, I think. He wants to do good, but he's being used. He's going down a completely wrong path. TK says, do the aliens think Brexit is a good idea or are they Remainers? Funnily enough, someone on Facebook asked me that today. I don't know. Which aliens? Maybe different ones have different ideas. Russell, what do you think? Russell's a hard Brexiteer. Yeah. Hi, Isabella. Hello. Hello. Thanks for joining us, Isabella. And Tink says, correct, outlaw. What they are stopping is Eisenhower and Truman set up a global trust fund account worth $2 quadrillion for humanity. The cabal is trying to steal the world. Mr. Kim resigned. You mean the guy from the World Bank, that Korean bloke? That was weird because he quit suddenly for no reason. And I wonder why that is. If you listen to Third Rail Radio on Hapanwo Radio, I actually brought this up last Sunday. You can go and download the podcast or listen to it if you want. It's just on my Hapanwo Radio blog. I brought up this thing about the World Bank leader quitting. That's odd, isn't it? And maybe it's to do with what you're saying. I think possibly they want. He obviously wants out the way before something happens. Something's going to happen which he doesn't want to happen on his watch. He doesn't want to be remembered as the World Bank leader, the head of the World Bank, when ... happened. And I can't wait to see what ... is. Isabella, Rab C. Nesbitt for PM. Okay, gonna be what does he'd make more sense than Theresa May, wouldn't he? Tink says Global Trust Fund, not fraud. Big Nose Tribe says concrete gas. Big Nose, do you buy the Big Nose Tribe? Who are you talking about? I think I can guess what you're talking about. Please do watch my video Jews, or I explain how the Jews are innocent. Please do watch it because it's not. It's a complete and utterly that is a distraction. It really is. And I'll be called an anti-Semite. I'm now going to be called an anti-whatever. All right, Hugo, whatever the word you think is right for anti-Semite. I'll be called that for saying that Jews are innocent. You see what I mean? You can't win. I'm an anti-Semite no matter what I say. I think sometimes you just have to be satisfied with knowing that you yourself are doing no wrong, and that has to be enough, because everyone else won't believe you. Virulent Aura says, Anna Soubry is a Nazi. Oh, I love the Jonathan Pye video was hilarious. The Jonathan Pye, well, Jonathan Pye's done 2 more since then, but he did a brilliant. He said, "Well, we've reached peak Nazi." Yeah, well, the thing is, like, well, what is she actually doing? I mean, is she doing something? I think it's reasonable to think if someone is actually wants the country absorbed into a European federation. Isn't that what the Nazis did? I mean, did you know that the Third Reich was not going to be called the Third Reich for much longer? Hitler had a plan. Once he'd won the war, he was going to call it the Europäische Vereinsschaft. Now, I don't know how many of you speak German, right? But what does Europäische Vereinsschaft actually mean? You guessed it, European Union. Vote for Absi, says Stephen. Yes. Get him up there on the hustings box. Yeah, Rab, you've got my vote. Round of applause. TK says, or are they not really too bothered about Brexit? Oh, TK, do you mean the government? They are fanatical about Brexit. Mel O'Brien says, Islam is an insane religion. A few hundred years ago, Christians went around slaughtering people, and now they're established and don't need to kill many. All religions an evil control system. It's true, yeah, that's true. I mean, this is not to castigate people who believe in a religion. I mean, my brother actually is a kind of born-again Christian. He goes to church. And, of course, I live with 2 Muslims. Islam is the dominant religion of the hospital pouring service. But these are people who have this belief, and that's absolutely fine with me in God. And I believe in God myself. I think there is a consciousness to the universe that it's convenient to call God. Some people express a spirituality through an organized religion. That's absolutely fine, but they don't believe every word in it. They compromise their beliefs, and they understand that they have to compromise their beliefs to fit in with society. What the government are doing at the moment is they're encouraging Muslims not to do so, not to compromise. And I've explained earlier why that is. Neptune Returns says, Ramsey Nesbitt is the Scottish Bigfoot. Oh my God. Could be. Or a swally, I don't know what that means. I think that's one of his words from the Glaswegian. Professor Fez says, now Bigfoot is a woman from Govan. Probably his wife, Elaine Smith. She was cool. Oh, that was such a good series. It wasn't just the guy who played Nesbitt. It was his Mrs. Nesbitt, his wife, was cool. And the kids, especially the little one, he was so funny. Gregor Fisher was the actor. He was so good. He's so bloody good, that man. And Elaine Smith. Elaine Smith actually played Helen Duncan in this documentary about her. Beetlejuice says, yes, our space brothers say WTO all the way. Do they? Oh, really? Well, which alien? They're obviously the reptilians, I think, who say that. TK says, I heard Brexit is a psyop. No, it's not, TK. I know I've heard people say this. A lot of people in the truth movements actually come at me and they say, Ben, don't. It's a complete distraction. It's not. It doesn't matter. No, it's not. And I've explained why. I think Brexit, the 2016 effect, is a real fundamental breakdown in the control system of the New World Order. I really do think it is. It's not the end of the New World Order, but it's something that could begin a process that will lead to the end of the New World Order. Tink says, Verlon, did you see the footage on Mike B in it on Twitter 2 tape showing 2 agents calls that 99? So that's okay. I'll leave that. I don't know what to answer. That's obviously something you're talking about amongst yourselves, which is fine. Isabella says, what's up with you? With me? Nothing, I don't think. Verlon says, it was set so I could imagine. Orbit 80 says, shit on a blanket. Lol. Infiltrated MI5, etc. says Verlon, to demonize yellow vests UK. Well, there was a guy, they've arrested a guy actually, and James, what's his name? And I do wonder exactly what role he's playing. I mean, he was ranting, the way he was behaving, like yelling and cursing and stuff like that. I mean, I don't I mean, I don't like to think people. I don't think he deserved to be arrested, but he was yelling like Muslims should all be removed from Britain and things like this. And I think that's just so counterproductive. That is wrong. I think and I do wonder. Maybe he's just hot-headed and he says things in the heat of the moment that he doesn't mean, or he knows are wrong. I don't know, but he was arrested and he was pulled out by the police. I don't know much about him or about this whole situation because there's no actual leadership structure for the Yellow Vest movement. We had a guy on Caroline's show the other day, Roman Light from France. He speaks good English. He came on the show and he says he's an important figure within the French Yellow Vest movement, but he's not a leader. There is no leader. Darren Retro. Hi, Darren. He says, do you still do the Hapanmo Radio or just stick to YouTube? I do Hapanmo Radio still. Check it out, Darren. It's easy to find. Just put in Hapanmo Radio into Google. You'll find it. Mel O'Brien says, I don't like anyone acting out their religious beliefs in public, wearing weird clothes like Muslims or displaying the morbid death symbol, the crucifix. To be honest, I don't either, Mel. But unfortunately, they're allowed to do it. Unfortunately, people are allowed to do it. It's one of your rights on a public highway to express, wear religious symbols, whether it's clothing, whether it's ornaments or jewelry. And that's fair enough. I'm against these things being banned. Isabella, I go. Bye-bye. Well, Isabella, thank you for tuning in or coming all the way from Poland and tuning in. Stephen says, Russell Grant. Do you mean Russell the alien? No, a different guy. Vrillon says, I would have a religion where I could wear a rubber chicken mask at all times. Well, Vrillon, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Then they'd have to let you wear one at work. You'd have to let you wear it at work, wouldn't they? Tink says, Anna Soubry, Nicholas Soames, Lucy Allen, Ken Clark, 16 others causing chaos hiding in the UK, and an international pedo ring. So Telford, many Rotherham public won't get justice. Yeah, I don't know who's exactly is behind this altogether, but I know that they were complicit people within that part of the world. They really are. Professor Fez, yeah, kids change a person forever. Yeah, they do. Yeah, kiddie messes. They're all around. They're in Parliament. They're in the BBC. They're all over the place. And this is what is going to be the hardest reality for people to face when it comes out. It's going to be worse than 9/11, worse than the UFOs. It's going to be the biggest. It's going to be the hardest pill to swallow. But we have to swallow it if we're going to be free. In a sense, there's a kind of shadow-facing exercise, if you're familiar with spiritual matters, but we have to do it. Israel, I didn't get your DP joke. No, I didn't. UVF UDA, yeah, that's the different. There's several other splinter groups in Northern Ireland, Neptune. Mel O'Brien says, all people displaying stigmata are frauds. Padre Pio is the latest fraud. They have wounds on their palms, but the Romans drove nails through the wrists, so the palms won't support their weight. Yeah, I mean, there's an old episode of Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World you can see on YouTube where they talk about this. It's very interesting because they just say that a lot of images of Jesus show him being supported by his wrists, but the Romans actually used the forearms to support people in crucifixions. And Tink talks about the FBI, USA, Brennan, Gitmo's ready for more. POTUS, executive order seize assets of these child traffickers. I hope so. I hope he does. I hope he could pull through. Trump, I think he says drain the swamp, but I mean, when he said those words first, he had no idea how deep and rancid the swamp really was. And it's only now he's found out. Eman Pudima. Hello, Eman. I don't think stigmata is historically accurate for more than one reason, but it does not necessarily mean they're frauds. It could be a genuine psychosomatic phenomenon in some cases. That's what the Arthur C. Clarke program said, Eman, and I think that's right. Would Britain ever elect an alien, says Diego Rivera? Well, what if they already have? What's Blair? Is Blair, yes, we did. John Major, says Steve. Yeah. He sort of looks like a tortoise, doesn't he? Maybe he's like a tortoise alien. Mel said, the Nazis had a meeting in August 1943. Many top industrialists, Standard Oil, EG Farben, Chase Manhattan Bank. Yeah, they saw they couldn't win the war militarily, but they could economically. Yes, with the EU. As Anthony Hilder says, the EU was Hitler's greatest dream come true. Vrillon says, Eman says, Christianity is a fraud. The gospel's Roman propaganda, yes. And it mixed up with the solar worship and things like that. And you talk about the ISIS, Horus foreshadows Mary and Jesus, exactly. There's a lot of people written a lot of stuff on that. It's very interesting. Mel says, they're insane. Doctor examining Padre Pio said he tampered with his wounds every morning. Okay. And Tink says, Project Paperclip, Project Mockingbird, Project Aquarius are all true. Humanity is lied to. These are remnants of the Dark Cabal now. TK says, so what is the actual Brexit deal decision? Well, it's I did read through her deal. It basically means that Britain would be effectively dictated to by European economic policy without any way of forming our own bilateral trade agreements. That's like a vassal state, but we would have even less rights than a member state. Mel says, when I was at the choir school, they received directions from the Vatican not to pray to Padre Pio because he was a fraud. Okay. And Eman and Mel continue to debate that. Steve says, so when are you next on tour, Ben? Well, Steve, I don't do like a tour as such, but I do speak at various places. And in fact, if you can get all the way to Denmark in 3 weeks' time, on February the 1st, I'm speaking there. But I'm speaking in Britain as well on I'm speaking at the East Anglia UFO Group and the Swansea UFO Network in the spring and summer. And there's a couple of other places. I can't remember them all now. But I am doing some live shows if you want to get there. Jay Hobson, hi. How are you, Jay Hobson? Thanks for tuning in. There's 40 people still watching, so I'm going to carry on. I'm getting tired, actually, but this is a long live stream, 2.25 hours. I can't go on forever, but I'll get through your comments. Okay. Neptune returns, went out to the garden for a piss. Don't you have a toilet, Neptune? And Tink and Eman are continuing to debate various things. Christianity was an excuse. Canaanites were real Jews, kicked out the black magic sex cult. The Canaanites were the real Jews. Well, there's Ralph Ellis has written a lot about the Bible and about the stories in the Bible, about what they mean. Very interesting. Professor Fez. Okay. Drunken Donkey Circus. That's an interesting name. Haha. Did you see any UFOs while you were out there? No, I haven't seen any UFOs for a while. Oh, you mean Neptune when he went out for a tinkle? All right. Orbit 80 said, did you think of me? Mel says, Germany never surrendered at the end of World War II. Only units of the armed forces. There was no official surrender. Germany now controls Europe. It's a fascist ideal. Well, it's true. I mean, Germany, they fought to the last man, to the bunker, didn't they? When Hitler wasn't in it because Hitler escaped. But, yeah, I mean, well, I think you've been watching Michael Shrimpton, haven't you? I mean, Germany is not controlled Europe. Germany seems to be the center of various things. For example, they've had the most immigration. Angela Merkel seems to be the most control of all the various leaders. And then Eman replies to Mal again about things. Professor Fez, has everything come out now? Okay. Okay, they took Mel and Eman are debating the stigmata still. Okay, Tink says, correct. They just went underground. They don't wear brown uniforms anymore. No, Reagan warned the world fascism will come in the form of liberalism. JFK tried. POTUS is humanity's only hope. The Geotus, yes. I mean, I think the 2016 effect, if the 2016 effect is not carried through into an actual revolutionary process to end the New World Order, what will? If the Illuminati claw back what they lost completely in 2016, where do we go from there? Is Diego Rivera says, predictions for 2019, Ben? Oh my God. I got a feeling the UFO issue is going to come up some more. I hope it does. Apart from that, I'm not sure. I think there's going to be more Brexit chaos. It'll probably last the rest of the year before they finally call it. I think they won't actually call a halt to Brexit this year. I think they'll let it drag on. All through 2019, there's going to be all kinds of, yes, we're going to give you Brexit. We're going to. It'll probably be in 2020 or even later that they'll say something like, okay, we're cancelling Brexit. It can't be done. Mel O'Brien says the whole world's a stagecoach and the ride is getting rougher. Yes, indeed, and the bandits are coming in, circling us with their on their horses. Eamon says, okay. Eamon is debating with Mel there. Tink says, the good thing is POTUS has the forensic accounting re Finchley Road. He has all the child entrapment films, really, Epstein Islands, they're all buggered. Well, Tink, I hope if you've been watching QAnon and things like that, I really do want them to get these indictments unsealed. I really do. I wonder how much longer this is going to drag on. Professor Fez, worst things happened when Thatcher got the boot. That was the death of Spitting Image. I used to love Spitting Image. That was cool, actually. Neptune returns. Thatcher's father was a confirmed child molester. Really? Yeah. Tink says, and Neptune returns says, and convicted. Yes, was he convicted? Friend of Savile. Yeah, well, she was. Yeah, she was for Savile and her. There's lots of photos with Thatcher and Savile. Yeah. Villon Aura says, welcome to live chat. Remember to buy. How come did you get that warning as well? Abide by your privacy, abide community guidelines, guard your privacy. All right. Mel O'Brien says the Irish media are pushing no ideal, no Brexit. I bet they are, Mel, yeah. Mocha78 has retracted their messages, but hello, Mocha, welcome. Outlaw says representative democracy is a wicked fraud and voting is a great deception. There is no democracy when the assumptions of parliamentary sovereignty and the pseudo-constitution is at play. Yeah, it is basically... Outlaw, it is a right to put a cross on a piece of paper every few years and choose your government's public relations officer. That's not freedom, is it? Sorenable, hello, Sorenable, welcome. How are you? Tink says, Maggie Thatcher ran them all by an iron rod, read their pedo ring. Hence, Savile was at their Christmas dinner parties every year and hung around with pedo royalty. You got to judge a man by the company he keeps, haven't you? Yeah. He was very, very up there with the bigwigs, wasn't he? And the gatekeeper of the cesspit, as David Icke calls him. It just makes you wonder what the cesspit is like. Stephen says, what's happened to Liberace? He's gone to bed, I think. Oh, where are we? American military equals freedom has posted here. Welcome. Infowars.com. Vetsforchildrescue.org. Thanks. Yeah, I know Infowars. I don't know about the other one, but thank you for those links. Oh, I've gone to the bottom again. Got to scroll back up. It's not too much now because I'm getting tired. Mm-hmm. All right. Wow, where are we? Right, okay. E-Man says, I thought of going to Russia more than once. Charles defected to Russia. Oh, Professor Fresh. Charles, did he? I've not heard from him for a while. Is he still doing people with his psychic powers, man? Diego Rivera says, Putin and Trump work for Israel. I don't think they do. I think there's an attempt to, well, not Israel specifically, there's an attempt to get them back into the New World Order agenda, but they don't. No, they don't work for Israel. There's attempts to control them. Ting says, immigration is part of their new silent weapons for a quiet war program. Use the people against the people. Yes, the immigration thing is very important. I mean, we've seen in the last few years a mass industrialized movement of people, which is way more than you even got in the Second World War. And people are saying, oh, they're just letting people come in who want to come in. And I'm saying, no. You cannot, people in that amount, that numbers at the same time, do they all suddenly automatically decide they want to move thousands of miles? It's being done deliberately. They're being brought in deliberately by the government. And as I said, this is, if you know any of these people, don't be nasty to them. They don't deserve our hatred or our abuse or our blame. They are as much victims as we are. But yeah, it is a silent weapon for a quiet war. It won't be a quiet war for much longer. I think it's going to get very loud. That's part of the plan. Skeksis, yeah, this is Orbit. Tina, hello, Tina Silver, how are you? Nice beard. I'm glad you like it. The beard actually has only just started, because, and in fact, I've got a bit of a head start because I'm at the trough of that. Can I be bothered to shave sort of cycle? So I sort of, it's got a bit of a head start, Tina. But, Stephen says synthetic aliens. Tink says rumor has it Ben Ned is making plea deal and resign by March or May. Pope Francis to resign by March or May. Beware the Ides of March. Interestingly, the third temple is being built. Is that in Jerusalem? Because there's a lot of predictions and prophecies to do with that temple in Jerusalem. Illyrian Lion, hello. Hi, Ben. Any chance you'll be on Rich Planet again? That clip of you crying, bringing forth the defiler has become a quote of me and my brother scream whenever we see some cigars to start a fire. Oh, thank you. I love doing that. And now Richard hasn't invited me back on. If he does, I'll be glad to go. But Richard, I think Richard has sort of, in a sense, gone in a different direction from me in many ways. And he tends to, like, you may have noticed he has like a circle of guests he kind of brings on in a kind of pattern. It's quite a small group of people he brings onto his show. He's become quite isolated, actually, and suspicious of people. I think excessively so. But I still like what he does. I think Richard is he's a great guy. He's one of the best. And I'm willing to help him or work with him in any way he likes to assist what he does. I'm going to go and see some of the shows on his tour again. Yeah. E-Man, have you looked into the theories of the pole shift event? The CIA recently released a sanitized version of the book called Adam and Eve story about catastrophism, previously classified. That, E-Man, there's actually a news story going around about something strange happening to the Earth's magnetic field. I didn't know if it had anything to do with Adam and Eve. But yeah, the Pope has an international arrest warrant since 2018. Well, Neptune, I'd love to see him get nicked. Diego Rivera says Trump should get the Chinese to build the wall. Oh yeah, they'd have it done in 5 minutes, wouldn't they? The Chinese. I mean, look at that wall of China, that Great Wall of China. You can see that from space. E-Man says the CIA may just be playing mind games or sanitizing that book. They may know something. They may be pretending. I don't know what that book is, E-Man, but I know about the pole shift thing. It's very interesting. We are in the middle of a pole shift, I think. Tink says Cardinal Pell is in jail. Cardinal Lion is trial last week. Only Pope left. Oh, right. Well, I hope so. I really do. I mean, honestly, the Vatican is obviously, I mean, it's not a secret that the Vatican is one of the central pillars of this child abuse conspiracy. When that falls, other pillars will fall too. Kevin Annett was talking about this, and he's right. E-Man says, hopefully it won't be too soon. If he does, I hope so, you know. Tink says, Q says, enjoy the show. Time will tell. Oh, is Q listening? He, she, or they? Hello, Q. Oh, well, I will. Or is Q just he, she, or they are simply talking about? Are they talking about just generally to do with Brexit? Because yeah, I am enjoying the show, and I'm kind of like it's quite good fun actually. As I said, I can't see any way this Brexit thing could end, which won't completely screw the Illuminati and give us extra points on them. I can't see any way it's going to end any other way. Tink says POTUS has already have the money for the wall and the military budget. It's about getting a dark state to confess to their crimes. Gitmo was set up ready for 2 prison ships there. Well, you know, if anyone does deserve to be in Guantanamo Bay, it's the bloody deep state. They've been locking up loads of people there without trial for ages. Let's use it for something useful. Let's lock up people we know are guilty. I say give them a trial, but then the thing is, how do you punish these people? I can't think of anything bad enough to do to them for what they've done. There's no punishment appropriate. Hugo Roon says the Scottish are British and the Welsh are British, the Irish are British, the English are German, so basically Scotland and Wales cannot leave Britain. They are Britain. All right, so, well, again, we're talking about language here because, of course, English is a Germanic language. But, again, if you're talking in cultural or racial terms, it's not the same. So it's a complicated business, actually. But, you know, there's been like racial surveys of mitochondrial DNA and things like that of people living in Britain and many parts of Europe. The racial divisions are very, very small among European people, and they don't run along linguistic and cultural lines necessarily. Tink says, hence why General Mattis and General Kelly resigned, so they could see over the military trial. Well, I hope that's true. I really do. In which case, Trump is getting his own back. Limespec says, Ben, I have to shoot off now. I've enjoyed this as usual. We'll watch the rest on the recording. Bye for now. Thank you for watching, Limespecs. I'll see you. You take care. Thank you for tuning in. There's still 45 people watching. Ali Q says, my God, is a giant spider behind you. Oh, that's that thing. That's just my hat. That's all right. That's my warm woolly hat. Brexit Tink says Brexit is a huge distraction and ties in with what's really going on in the USA. I don't think it is. But what you say about some GCHQ MI6 went rogue, if that's part of like the breakdown of the deep state, then that might be true. But Brexit is not a distraction. E-Man says Meyer Lansky was instrumental to the founder of the EDL. Neptune Returns says hate equals love. Meyer Lansky was the ADL, sorry, not EDL. I'm getting tired. Who's Meyer Lansky? I don't know who that is. Tink says, had Clinton got in the cabal, NW would carried on POTUS's side job backed by the military to bring them down. This has been planned for years. E-Man says, I had an interview with Nick Griffin. I heard an interview with Nick Griffin. He says the EU is going to collapse in a couple of years because shortly the European Union members will be expected to put in rather than take out. Well, I think so. I think so too. Yeah, it's quite likely, actually. I mean, I disagree with Nick Griffin on so much, but he sometimes has some enormous insights. I mean, he made a video where he really takes apart the EDL, the English Defence League, and everything to do with it, and it's the people who are funding it and things like that. He says that Tommy Robinson is innocent, but the people behind him are much more sinister. Darren Retro says, Diane Abbott is black? Why didn't she say so? Well, she hasn't mentioned it for 5 minutes, so she better remind us. Yeah. Villon says, if I was her, I would have no mirrors. The thing is, Diane Abbott thinks she's gorgeous. She had a painting of herself done in, she had a painting of herself done, which was on the front cover of one of these magazines, and it was terrible. I mean, I don't think she's very good looking, and I don't know what Corbyn saw her. Maybe she was when she was younger. I don't know. But it's regardless of what she looks like, she's just a horrible. She's just a dishonest and very, very manipulative person who is, as I said, who was a racist and who is dense and unqualified, but still thinks she's the bee's knees because she's a black woman, and that's really annoys me. And she keeps playing on this so much. It's very. And Larry and Lion is right. Yeah, I'm glad. I answered you about Rich Planet. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed my last appearance on Rich Planet. Yeah. Ting says that the people will be given the right to see military trials once the cabal is taken down. I hope so. I really do. Edgar, hello. How are you? Neil Desperandum, welcome. Hello, Neil. They're only concerned with virtue signaling these days. One of the biggest threats to British freedom is the rise in backyard, inferior, intolerant 7th century Arabian death cult called Islam. No, that in itself is not the threat. That is the tool that's being used, and it is the way Islam is being promoted among young people in its fundamentalist form, and it's being done deliberately. Islam itself is a religion like any other, and it can exist, indeed has existed quite well with European secular society for many, many years, by people who understand that they have to compromise some of the principles of their faith, as Christians and Jews have had to as well. And this could happen again. I know people who are Muslims who are completely and utterly compatible with our society. They're not. The thing is, the radical Muslims would call them fake Muslims. This is the problem. So, in fact, the focus on Islam, I think, is where a lot of people, some people in the truth movement, have gone down this route into the counter jihad, and I think it's incorrect. I think, in a sense, that is something that is a controlled situation. It's a controlled controversy, and yeah, I mean, it's if your daughter is a victim of a child grooming gang in Rotherham, you're not in a position to think otherwise. But the truth of the matter is, there's a much deeper conspiracy behind all that. Where are we? Jake Smith, Darth Viper 17. Tink says Islam is a branch of the Hivite pagan black magic sex cult. But there's evidence to suggest that Islam was created by the Vatican. And I read a thing about it, an article. It's very interesting. Neil Desbrandon says it's not about skin colour, it's about ideology and culture. Postmodernism has dictated that all cultures are equal unless it's white male Western culture. Well, that's basically an outline of cultural Marxism. And it's not because they're against white people. This is what the alt-right gets wrong. They're against all people. Humans are farm animals, to the Illuminati. That's why I don't think they are human. This is why I say they are. The idea they're reptilians, I take seriously. Yes, it is racism, Neil. Yeah. And Professor says Diane Abbott is a woman. A black woman, Professor Fez, please. Don't just say woman. Remember to say black woman. Villanova says MP Fiona Onasanya is a very nice lady. Got done for speeding and won't resign. Well, I'm not sure speeding is actually a bad enough crime to actually cause an MP to resign. Done for speeding. I mean, that's pretty minor actually. But the thing is, like, if she are people calling for her to resign? If they're calling for her to resign, why are they not calling for other MPs who've done much worse to resign? Phil says she's a black lady in the Labour Party. Oh my God, Diane Abbott has got competition. She won't like that. Eman says, I don't think Sunni Islam has added to our culture. In fact, it's strictly adhered to. It's fundamentally can't do. That's the flaw of the cosmopolitan case. Well, it's not something that I would ever believe in. I don't think religions add or take away anything from culture. They're personal things that people believe. If they're imposed, for example, the people who say we should have the Sharia as part of our own legal system, that's when it becomes a serious threat in that sense. But again, that's not the conspiracy. That's not the threat, the actual threat. That's the tools being used by the people who really want to take over the world. We've got a Jeremy Bailey. He's saying, I think he's a door-to-door preacher, an internet equivalent of a door-to-door preacher, who's like quoting here for all kinds of things. Oh, the Jesus is Lord. All right, then. Most Sunni Muslims are okay. It's annoying they don't see how much they're set up and don't complain about less important issues. Well, they're victims of a massive mind control campaign. That's the thing. Brilliant says diversity is the cure for your whiteness. Oh yeah, that's all part of cultural Marxism, like I said. Neptune, Family Guy's removing all gay humour from now. I saw that, and that's awful. This is what I mean by this political correctness has killed comedy. I think you see it mostly on TV. Like some of the great comedies from the 70s and the 80s in Britain, which were world famous, half of them can't be shown now because people are offended by them. And Family Guy, it'd be really, really sad if Family Guy lose this as well. I really will hate that if that happens. Neil Desbrandon says, if Islamics ever took over the country, you know which side pretty much all Muslims would take. And they're not going to take over the country, Neil. I think the perceived threat of them doing so is all part of how we're being manipulated. King Dale Clark says, guys, need your advice on something. Man, age 26 from England. Last few weeks, I've been chatting online to a Venezuelan woman. I really like her, as she does me. But yesterday, she told me they are something. They're going to cut off her internet. I think she will ask me to send her some money. What do I do? Oh, my goodness me. Now this live stream has turned into dating advice. King Dale Clark, don't send money to someone you don't know. Don't, all right? If you can call her on the phone if they cut her internet off. Don't send her any money. She may be a con man. She could be some bloke pretending to be some, a con man. Ricky Spanish. Hello, Ricky says, no Arab, Asian, black or Latino majority country has any other ethnicity in any level in their governments that I can find. Is that racist or more racist for me? Or more racist for me to ask about it? I don't know, Ricky. The thing about it is, it's racism has got to the point where people are saying things like, you say something and someone said, oh, that's racist. And I said, well, I'm not a racist. And they say, this is what you often get from the left. They say, but Ben, you may be racist and not realize it. And I'm sitting there thinking, how can I possibly be racist and not know it? Surely you would have some inkling if you hated people who were a different color from you, wouldn't you? This is what I mean when I say this stuff's getting inside your head. This political correctness, this cultural Marxism, it gets inside your head. It screws up your thoughts. It makes you doubt. It makes you police your own words, your own thoughts, your own feelings. It makes you feel guilty. It makes you hate yourself. It makes you hate other people. Watch my BBC video. I go all into it in detail then. Kingdale Clark says, it's true she's from Venezuela and I haven't met her in person yet. I really feel in love. I've never had any hint that she's after money until yesterday, when she said they could cut her internet off. But King, I'm more happy. If you really love her, that's great. And it could be she's genuine and you and her can be really, really a good couple one day. But if you send money to someone you don't know, it may turn out that the entity you're communicating with is actually a fraud. So don't send any money. I get people asking me for money, and I say, usually there's a picture of some attractive woman on the social media. They say, could you help me out with this? And I think to myself, who are you? So please be careful. Don't send her any money. Suggest try and find another solution, but don't send her any money, whatever you do. Tink says, 9/11, Syria, Benghazi, Clinton sold weapons and nukes. Served bin Laden's family, sent Chris Stevens as a patsy. Give his coordinates to kill SEALs, no terrorist, global genocide for cash. So I don't know what all that meant, but I think you're talking about the whole bin Laden, the way bin Laden was funded, things like that. Yeah. Now the SEALs, do you mean the Navy SEALs? Do you mean SEAL Team 6? Because, they were taken out by in fact, several of them most of them were killed in that helicopter crash. And then several others died in mysterious circumstances. Other times, one had an accident when he was parachuting, just in his spare time as a hobby. He was a parachutist, and his parachute didn't open or something. That's a big subject. But basically, SEAL Team 6 were the people who supposedly killed bin Laden, the Special Forces unit. They, I think, were silenced by being killed. They killed them and moida, to keep them quiet. Brilliant Aura says, send her $1 and say, is our future relation King? If you really are in love, it won't be over. All right. Don't send her anything. But if she really loves you and you really love her, you'll find a way through it. But please don't send her any money. Is Diego Rivera, what would happen if David Icke became PM? He was in the Green Party. If David Icke became PM, he'd be dead the next day. It'd be a car crash. It could be a heart attack. It could be shooting. It could be anything. Ricky Spanish says Trotsky was a Christian-hating Jew. Well, the fact that he's a Jew, Trotsky was a Jew. Yeah, the fact he was a Jew is completely irrelevant, as I say in my video, Jews. But he was certainly a part of the major figure in the Bolshevik Revolution. Later, they turned against Stalin, turned against him, and eventually killed him in Mexico. But Leon Trotsky was like a big part of that. Funny enough, a lot of modern leftists, they revere Trotskys. There's lots of Trotskyist sects within the left today, various parties and tendencies and things like that. And they were Trotskyite Marxists. Kingdale Clark, how would you? All right. Kingdale Clark, just don't give her any money. I can't give you dating advice on this live stream, but just don't send her any money. If she loves you and you love her, it'll work itself out. E-Man has mentioned Ralph Ellis. Christianity was constructed. Yeah. Philo. Yes, Philo was the guy who lived in Jerusalem and never, at the time Jesus was there, and never reported him, even though he describes the city in great detail and records all the newsworthy events. He's a Roman historian. But he doesn't mention Jesus. That's interesting. Ricky Spanish says he ran to Mexico, caught an ice pick in his noggin. That's right. They tracked him. The Soviets, yeah. Professor Fez says Ike is very good at exposing himself. Ask Pamela. Pamela, his ex-wife. Yeah, I don't know what you mean, but Pamela is his ex-wife. Yeah. You've seen her on Skype, Kingdale. Okay. Okay. If she's real, cool. But she doesn't mean you should send her money. Right? Just don't send her any money. Have you been to see her? You can surely get a cheap flight. Go and see her. It seems Kingdale Clark's getting angry now with somebody. Edgar says, "Hospital porters, let's go." Yeah. All right. Brilliant. Aura. Oh, she's asking for money from 10 different horny inns. Well, you don't know. It might be. This is the problem. And I mean, if Kingdale Clark is really in love, and I don't want to disappoint you, but that could be true. But you'll find out. You have to find out. But if she loves you and you love her, it'll all work out. Honestly, I don't want to be a complete cynic and say, "Oh, she's definitely a con woman." You don't know that. She might not be. Tink says Obama did the same. Clinton gave via Syria, Iran, 7 Davy Crockett nukes, 1 killed, 20,000 Russian troops. This is what military trials are really about. Well, I hope we see. I hope this all does come out. I hope QAnon is real and it all comes out. I really do. Right. Villan Aura. Okay. Oh, hello, Gemma. How are you? It's Gemma, Archaeologistica. Hello. How are you, Gemma? Gemma is someone I know who I won't give her a full name because she'd probably lose her job knowing the way things are at the moment. But hi, Gemma. Is it growing? Is it grown since you saw the photo? Edgar says, Justin Louis, I like your hat. Yeah, the hat is actually Truth Seekers Northeast. It's back to front in my display, but you can probably see it the right way around on yours because this is just the way YouTube works. And you may have seen in my videos, I've spoken at Truth Seekers Northeast. They're a really brilliant, well-organised group in the northeast of England. Really, really great. Neptune Returns is arguing. Waxing, says archaeologist. Gemma says, I could... I'll do something. I had to trim it last time because this bit here on the tash because it was getting in my mouth that I was eating. Kingdale Clark, Benji Porter, about my online Venezuelan girlfriend. If she does ask me, does ask to send me money, what should I do? Maybe a little bit. Maybe it won't. She won't ask again. And if not, see what happens. I'm really worried. I'm sorry you're worried, Kingdale Clark. My advice to you is to send her no money. Just say you want. Maybe you can go and see her. Go and visit her. I mean, where do you live? Because you could probably get cheap flights. I mean, for the price of it would be less than a normal holiday because you could stay at her place. Or just go and see her for a few days or something. I mean, if you're in love, then it'll be really. I know you don't want to lose her. Well, you may not lose her, Kingdale, but you've left yourself a bit open here. If it may turns out that it's some kind of con job, your heart's going to be broken. But it's not necessarily the case. I don't want to be a complete cynic, but you just got to be on your guard. If she's the real thing, she'll stick with you, and you'll find a solution. I promise you. Oh well, you see, this is like that bloody. I feel like. Do you remember that video I made about nice guys or something? What was it called? Nice guys and their girlfriends or something. But this guy wrote to me. He was like this teenager full of teenage angst about finding a girlfriend, and I gave him dating advice. Do you remember that video? I put it up on BitChute as well as YouTube. It was an old VidMe video. Tink says 6 nukes still on the loose. All right. Well, you've been watching that Gordon Bowden, haven't you? He talks about that. P2 Freemasons, P2, that's the Vatican Freemasons, funded nukes to Mexican Navy, plus uranium. All right. Tink, are you Gordon Bowden? Are you? If you're Gordon Bowden, let me know. Because I've been wanting to talk to you since we met at the 9/11 Truth meeting a few years ago. King, as soon as I seen her on Skype, I knew she was the one. Well, Kingdale, I don't know why you've joined this live stream to get dating advice. I really don't, because this is actually a live stream about the Brexit situation. Oh. Neptune says she's a scam, probably a smelly old man. Oh, Neptune, I know that's a possibility, but we don't know that. I mean, I don't want to be too cynical. Like I said, I know there are scams like this, but it's not necessary. I mean, it may be the real thing. Kingdale Clark and Neptune now getting into an argument. Villon Aura says he's gay. Oh, well, Villon, you've come. I didn't know, but it's of no consequence your personal life. It's an odd place to come out the closet, a live stream chat box, but I don't really care either way. Ricky Spanish says, did you see Madonna's new asses? You know, she's had some kind of implant, didn't she? Villon says, I don't want a girlfriend. Well, you wouldn't if you were gay, would you? You want a boyfriend. Okay. Kingdale Clark's now going to go at Villon. Don't start on me, you phobic male, you. Kingdale, I think Neptune Returns and Villon Aura are winding you up now. Don't take the bait. Ricky Spanish, why do gay homosexuals, Canadians and blacks always announce it on YouTube chat? Well, they don't always, Ricky, do they? I mean, I don't know what colour everyone is. I don't care what colour everyone is. If someone's black, they can tell me or not. They can do what Diane Abbott says and mention it in every sentence. Or you can just say it once, I don't mind, I don't care. And whether they're gay homosexuals, which is kind of a tautology, isn't it? Is there a non-gay homosexual? Canadians, well... I some people do tell me they're Canadian. I don't mind if they're Canadian. I've got friends who are Canadian. Oh, hospital porter, says Edward Agnew. Yes, I'm triggered now, says Frillon. It's Diego Rivera. Will Trump be assassinated if he takes emergency powers? Diego, I think Trump faces the risk of assassination every damn day, and I don't know. I hope not. I don't pray very often, but I pray for Trump. I pray for his safety. I really do. Because he is really the center of the 2016 effect. Villon Aura, I'm sorry you have PTSD. I really do. But I can't. Am I going to have to give you? You're not going to ask me for psychological advice when Kingdale is asking me for dating advice. Ricky says Trump has a private army watching the Secret Service. I hope so. I really do. And there's like QAnon has talked about this, how there is a rebellion within the military, the US military, which of course is a massive, it's bigger than the rest of the world's armed forces put together, that is actually behind Trump. And to be honest, the fact that he's still alive leads me to believe that's true. Is Kingdale trolling? I don't know. Yeah, to Neil, you're right about Trump. Like I said, I pray for him. I don't pray very often. Ricky, if anything happens to Trump, I don't know whether it'll trigger a civil war. I don't know. I just hope everything works out all right. Anyway, Mark Gabb. Hello, Mark Gabb. All they have to do is to extend Article 15. Bedlam will follow. I hope they don't get away from it, right? But you know, they don't get away with what they're doing. But obviously, they're going to extend Article 50. I got a feeling that we'll go through this entire year without any Brexit day, and no one actually saying when it's going to happen. But the government will keep promising it's going to happen at least a whole year, I reckon, before they actually admit they're not. They are not actually going to do it. Villon Aura, you are a shitlord sometimes. You really are. Taj, hello. Taj Investigates. Hello, Taj Investigates. Do check out his YouTube. And check out the work he does with Sarah. Taj is a good guy. He's organised a brilliant conference, and there's videos which he's made where I've spoken. And Taj, I can't sing Taj's praises enough. I'm tired now, and I'm starting to ramble a little bit. But Taj is a real person. I've met him, and he's a good guy. He's really committed to this sort of thing. But, so hello, Taj. Villon Aura. Oh, you're going to be good. I'm glad to hear it. Gary Davis. Hello. No deal is the yellow vest deal we won. Oh, right. Neil Branham says this needs to be taken to the Supreme Court. The government and Parliament are violating the law by not implementing the referendum act they passed. Yes. Get the court to force them. Well, you know, Neil, the High Court actually forced the government, for the first time, they actually forced Parliament to reveal the fact that they already had plans to cancel Article 50, and they had that on their, they tried to keep that back. And the High Court actually forced them to reveal it. In a sense, maybe that is the answer, is to actually do it through legal means. And I know that John Hurst, who I was on that live stream the other night, I don't know how many of you saw the live stream on Wake Up UK, but John Hurst has talked about that, yeah. Virulent Aura said, I was reading this book about the Fourth Reich and how the EU came about. It was by an ex-wartime intelligence officer. Oh, right. What book's that? Virulent. Professor Best, hey, Ben, you're a nice guy. With respect, just do the damn live discussion with Steve and have an end to it. Now, Steve, unfortunately, I don't really feel comfortable doing anything like that with Steve anymore, Professor Fez. I'm sorry, but, you know, the wood chipper comment was just too much. I know we all josh each other a bit and we can be insulting. And, you know, we're all guys, you know, we can, you know, but he went too far that time for someone. And it wasn't me he was attacking. It was somebody else, a guy who just appeared on the video. And I'm getting tired of Steve mumbling. I really am. I'll do the most 2 more videos and reply to him. And then that's going to be it. And it won't be about the moon. Ema Padima, Jews were Hyksos, a formerly powerful faction of Egyptians. Well, isn't Hyksos somewhere in the Aegean Sea or something? Was it somewhere in Egypt? I don't know. What's that got to do with Jews? I know the Jews were in Egypt as slaves. Of course, the famous story from the Bible. Is a hypothetical future German Reich that is a successor? Oh, Vrilon. Yeah, you've been watching Michael Shrimpton, haven't you? I know that it's not just Jews, but I must say a lot of them are very good at the victim game. That goes back to Exodus. Well, of course, I know some of them will play. There are some that will manipulate. Yeah, there were some that will be very manipulative about their Judaism, the way that Diane Abbott is manipulative about her being black. And that is dishonest, and I don't like that. And I think that's unfair. But, you know, the Jews are innocent in this. Jews are not guilty for the New World Order conspiracy. I've done an entire video about that called Jews. Diego Rivera says, force the English to speak Welsh. Oh, dyma'r Saesneg. Na allan nhw'n siarad Cymraeg, meddwl I. Ond, I can't. I'm too tired to speak Welsh now. Tink, Edgar, is the remnants of World War II got out under Project Paperclip. Well, that's true. That's interesting. The Project Paperclip is very interesting. Because, yeah, basically the US space program, and indeed part of less so in Russia, but a lot of space programs were set up with the help of those Germans that Michael Shrimpton is so concerned about, the old Nazi ones. I mean, the ones, not the new Germans, which Michael Shrimpton talks about, but the original bad Germans. You know, Edgar says, thank you for that. Now, go Ben and the Porters. Yeah, Rich Planet is good. I love Rich Planet too. I always watch it. Oh, right, When Nazi Dreams Come True. Right, that's the book. That's the one by Anthony J. Hilder, isn't it? I used to have a copy. I think I had a copy somewhere. I don't know. The CIA was instrumental in setting up the EU, which is the OSS before that. Yeah, well, I think the EU was set up by a conspiracy. I mean, that's not a secret. The EU was established by people it was a conspiracy. They tricked people into it. They decimalized the British currency. That should have been a real red flag. And then they had the EEC. It was before that there was the Brust. It began a long time ago. I mean, with the Kalergi plan, which was in 1920, that started. And Kalergi's often, you know, Richard Count von Coudenhove-Kalergi is often called the father of the European Union. And it took a long time, but they got the Brussels Treaty in 1946. And that's when it all kicked off. That's really when it started. And they gradually added to it till they had the EEC, then they had the Maastricht Treaty, the European Union, and all the other things. Now, the thing about it is, as I said, the United States was a federation that was created in one go, openly. If the EU was such a wonderful thing, why couldn't they do the same? Why did they have to trick people into it over a period of nearly a century? Because they knew people don't want it, and they knew it's a bad thing. And when people saw it was a bad thing, they would refuse. My beard's itching. Oh, Neptune says, Dennis O'Brien is the wealthiest man in Ireland. He's the biggest Irish contributor to the Clinton Foundation. The Irish media is totally anti-Trump and anti-Brexit. The media is controlled and biased. Yes. And it's all part of that thing with Soros. And by the way, when I say Soros, I don't mean Jews. I mean Soros. There is a difference. One has 2 syllables and S's, and the other one has J's and W's. It's one syllable. Okay, so cut the crap about dog whistling and all this bullshit. So I don't care if Soros is a Jew or not. It makes no difference. Soros is Soros because of what he does, not because of what his ethnicity or religion or culture is. Vrillon says Germany's by Harry. All right. Oh, that's interesting. Ex-intelligence officer. I think I've heard about that. Harry Beckloff. Steve 070 was Elvis is returning soon, Ben. Well, you know, I mean, that's a big thing. You know, Elvis is, the earth's not flat. Elvis is not alive. Lewis Hamilton is not Barack Obama's son. I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist. But that's one conspiracy I really like to be true, that Elvis is still alive. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Hello, Simon Templar. Welcome. Hope you're still driving that big, fast Jaguar. Yes, I am that old. E-Man says, I read the biography of a Russian spy involved in the Profumo scandal. He advised the Conservatives to... Yeah, that was the guy... he was the guy who was... well, he was having an affair with Christine Keeler, or he was paying her because she was a prostitute. Christine Keeler was this cool girl, a very high society cool girl. And she was having an affair with Jack Profumo, and also with the guy whose name I can't remember, who was the naval attaché of the Soviet embassy. And there was always this idea that through pillow talk, they were passing each other secrets, and that was the Profumo scandal. I don't know why that was a scandal, because at least Christine Keeler was a consenting adult. Why is there no big scandal about the children and Cyril Smith and Jimmy Savile? Why is that not a scandal? If you ever see that film Scandal, it's quite good, actually, that movie. It's quite good. Lou Griffin, what does the 100th monkey point mean? 100 monkeys eat bananas for no reason, says Neptune. Luke, what it is, it's to do with the 100th monkey effect was identified by Lyle Watson. If you watch my video, my last talk, my speech at Dreaming Saucers, I tell you all about it, okay, in detail. And also, there's also one called "Is There Any Hope?" That's a if anything, that's a better video to watch. Actually, it's called "Is There Any Hope?" So check that out on my channel. I'll be going over 3 hours now. There's still 36 people watching. Voting out seemingly a vote for anarchy. Well, 69 Phuket, it should be. E-Man says a lot of factions within the complex relationship. Jews are one, but even then there are different types of Jews with different agendas. I think the Knights Templar are important. Yes, the Knights Templar are not Jewish. I don't know where this fixation on Jews comes from, really. I know there are several books that's been written about it, Nestor Webster and other people in the early days of the conspirasphere. But I don't know exactly why. I mean, there are so many different types of Jews with different beliefs. And there's a joke that if a Jew was left alone, stranded on a desert island, he would build 2 synagogues, one to attend and one not to attend. Because it's like Orthodox Jews and Reformed Jews and things like that. And they all have different beliefs. There are Zionist Jews and anti-Zionist Jews. It's like this is why Jews can't possibly be behind any kind of conspiracy, because they disagree so much on everything. That's a point I should have made in my video, actually. E-Man says it's not a complete distraction of what is. The 99th monkey is Diego Rivera. Check out my people who want to know about the 100th monkey. Check out my Dreaming Saucers talk or my video called Is There Any Hope? 69 Phuket says 100th monkey sods off bananas and cooks a rat. James 78ish evening Ben. Hello James. Steve 071 Ben, you're an pro anti pro antiist. I don't know what that means. Tink says 69 Phuket voting out is get out the New World Order and Nazi control. Staying is a huge mistake. Well, I think neither will get us out completely, but if Brexit is the very fact, in a sense, it doesn't matter. We've already won when it comes to Brexit because of the 2016 referendum. That was the victory, was when that referendum went our way. It really doesn't matter what happens after that, to be honest. It's gonna be good for us either way. Professor says an anti-Semite. Oh, Hugo, what does that? What's he talking about now? Stephen says, I believe in the real God, not religion. Well, yeah, I believe in, like I say, Stephen, I believe in God. I think there's a consciousness to the universe that it's convenient to call God. But of course, if that consciousness exists, and I believe it does, The religions of the world don't know anything about it. They can't possibly, because the religions of the world didn't exist just a few centuries ago in their present form. And obviously the God must be much older, because God must go back to the beginning of the universe, which is, how many years is it? 13 billion, something like that. Eman says, I missed the bit where you explain why the government is encouraging Muslims not to compromise. Sounds interesting, but you could probably make some guesses. Yeah, but it's because I've done an entire video on this, but the government is trying to get is trying to create radical Muslims. It's trying to radicalize Muslims now through their use of Saudi money and Saudi mosques building and Saudi hate preachers. And they're not allowing it to happen. They're doing it deliberately because they want people like that in society, because they have a plan for them. Sunny Boy says, so what happened to Brexit then? Oh, I don't know. B is still in the bag. God equals energy, says Stephen. I think God is mind. God is not a person, not a person. God is everything. Mind is illusion. God, I'm getting tired. I'll try and get through your comments, guys, but there's still 36 people watching. Professor Fez, there's a talk about God here. Then Professor Fez says, it's ironic that Gregor Fisher's breakout role was in the film 1984, played next to Richard Burton. That's right, he played Parsons, didn't he? That was good. He was good at the end. Was that his breakout role? I don't think it was, because he was actually in a comedy series before that called Naked Video. That was his breakout, I think. It was very good, actually, Naked Video. He was in there with them. That's where Ramsey Nesbitt comes from. And there were several other people like the Baldy Man. Now, the Baldy Man is like a silent comedy. If you get it on YouTube, it's very highly criticised, but I think it's quite funny. I think it works well as a silent comedy, because the Baldy Man was a character in Naked Video, along with Ramsey Nesbitt, and both of them got a series. It's a very, very good Scottish comedy series. Probably be banned nowadays for various things. Stephen says that NWO can access your thoughts. Well, funny enough, like they've invented machines that can read your mind now. It's like positronic scanners and things. It's pretty awful. Email says there's only one basic consciousness. Yeah, it's time for Alan Bessick. They have tech. Ray Whelan. Hello, Ray. Ben, this Brexit is getting on me tits. I think it's getting on everyone's now. Yeah. Do you like a hard Brexit, Ben? Yes, I do. I like it hard, like my mince. Rock hard. As I said, that's the way out. Although, like I said, it's more of a good sign rather than something that can happen or not happen. E-Man says, I know the intelligence agencies investigated Psy for decades, if not century, if not millennia. They do. In fact, they've used it. This thing that the skeptics deny that it exists, the powers that be love. I mean, this is where Uri Geller came in, because the reason, as soon as he was famous, he was snapped up by the CIA. He's admitted it now. And with people like Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ. Hal Puthoff is now involved in the bloody To the Stars Academy, which I do wonder, that's what makes me suspicious. And I talked about that on my last disclosure video. The New World Order has technical version of the spirit world, do they? That's interesting. Brexit is sponsored by Kellogg's. Free Brexit with every pack of cornflakes. The EU was created by the British and US after World War II. Now, who's Alan Bessick? Is that a footballer, isn't he? Diego Rivera is a draconian alien. 69 Fuga. Do you chat about movies? Yes. I do reviews of films sometimes. In fact, I should do another one of those, actually. I can't see it. I've not actually looked to see what's in those pictures, but if there's anything good, I will talk about it. Anyone seen the Bob Lazar movie? Says Verlon. All right, yes, Verlon. In fact, I did a live stream about it in December. I don't know if you've seen that. If you want to see it, I did a whole live stream, and the recording is there if you want to see it. Ralph Ellis sees most of it, but he's missing the philosophical part Philo wrote about Logos before Christianity. Yeah. I haven't read all of his book. I did read a bit of his book. The King Jesus book, where he said Jesus was kept in a fortress in Chester. That was interesting. I was looking at some other things. Said that Jesus actually died in Pakistan. He was actually buried in Pakistan. and his grave is still there. And there's like the local Buddhist monastery is like really kind of like they know all about it. And Stephen said, I saw the Stan and Ollie film the other day. What's that like, Stephen? I like that because I like Laurel and Hardy. I've not seen the Queen film. No, yeah. 69 Phuket. Bye. Good night, 69 Phuket, and thanks for tuning in and watching. Ben, I'm also an alien, says Diego. Like you are. We are both aliens. Well, I've got an implant in my arm. Maybe that's it. TK, I've had enough of Brexit. Well, TK, I am going to do I am going to do more about Brexit. Probably another live stream, I'm afraid. But Stephen says, Merry Christmas. Happy Easter, Stephen. E-Man said, I thought of watching that film Heritage, but it looks pretty dark. I'll have a look through what's in the pictures and maybe do another roving review. I've got to prepare for my Denmark talk. I mean, I'm working on that at the moment. TK, they take forever to make a deal no one accepts. Yeah, I know. They should be sacked. E-Man says, the channel eyes wide open. Put clips of a Heritage. David Schultz says, oh, oops. We've lost it. Oh, I've got to go back up. Oh, blind, how many more of these are there? Hang on. Got to go back up. Okay, I'm nearly there. I'll find the right place. David Schultz says there's a very good video on the Sarah Westall show about the Yellow Vest movement. I've not seen that. They should make a movie called The Brexit Has Landed. So I'm gonna have to skip over a few of these comments. I'm sorry, but Arcane Rhythm Lennon, hello. Brexit with Corbyn on time. When the banks collapses, Ray. Neptune, you're too tired. Oh, bye, Neptune. Thanks very much, Neptune, for being on the live stream. It's the longest live stream I've ever done. Arcane Rhythm says vote UKIP. No, don't. They're useless. They've shown themselves. Sweet dreams, Steve. Thank you very much. Arcane Rhythm Lennon. Who's your favourite band? KLF. Okay, where are we now? Are we in the middle of a poll shit, Ben? I think you mean poll shift, Diego. Yes, we are. Akhenaten did. Is that E-Man? And the Akhenaten thing's good, yeah. Kyler Sniper says sub to Wilney. Yeah. Okay. Professor Fez, anyone notice that historically speaking, all slogans saying keep calm and carry on happen in times of war? Yeah, now they're a common meme, aren't they? Yeah. Keep calm and support England in the World Cup. Yeah. Arcane Rhythm. What's Old English before Anglo-Saxons? Take it away, Hugo. You answer. Keep on rocking in the free world, Ben. Yeah. So I'm just skimming a little bit now. Sorry about that, but Hugo Rune, regarding your responses to me, I disagree with you, but we'll leave that for another day. Good night, Ben, and good night all. I will stay listening now. Night, Hugo. Thank you very much for posting. Night, Hugo Rune. And Stephen says, it's like when a cash machine says free cash. You know, one day it won't be free to use your ATM. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Any more Bigfoot stuff coming up? Yeah, I think so. I've certainly Panama radio shows about Bigfoot coming up. TK, this stream is hate speech against the New World Order. Am I triggering the NWOK, TK? There we go. Okay. I'd have to skim a few of these comments, otherwise I'm going to just fall asleep. I don't know, some of you are just talking to each other, so I'll leave you for a while. Nick Griffin is wrong about that. There's not going to be an Islamic takeover. That's just what they're telling us. It's all a scam. The Islam could be used as part of this civil war that's coming up. I think that's what. But it's all done so they can just bring in a new and more authoritarian version of the European Union. I'm getting hoarse now. God, I'm half the length of my last comments reply video. Yes, but I can't take a break in this one. Professor Fez says, Well, first Tink mentions the Tavistock Institute. Yes, what you say is absolutely right. I mean, I've got personal. I've talked in other videos about my personal run-ins with the Tavistock Institute, and I'll tell you what, it's one of the worst things that happened to me in my life. Professor Fez, will we still get Alf Garnett and Love Thy Neighbour across the pond? It's already been banned, I'm afraid, which is a shame because it's really funny. It's satirical of racism, actually. It's not, but the BBC banned it for promoting racism because they can't, because they think in one dimension and they're trying to encourage us to think in one dimension. Eman says the 1995 Paris bombing is carried out by Algerian secret services in collusion with the French one. There's been a lot of false flags in France, and they've got a long history of it. Professor says Pamela was a friend of mine. Ike is a sleazebag con man. Pamela Ike, all right, it's Pamela Lee Richards. Well, I mean, it's a sticky situation when a couple splits up, so I can't comment on that. We're gone by 2080 or slaves, says Arcane Lennon. Yes, long before that, I'd say. Okay. I like it rhymes anyway. That was what they used to say about Eisenhower, yeah. Oh, where are we? I'm trying to answer as many of your comments as possible, but it's a bit tricky now because I'm getting tired. Because I did when I did my comments reply video, I did it earlier in the day. So even though it was longer, it was less tiring. We're not. Oh, Owly, hello, Owly Manstein. We're not doomed, and we're not. No one's doomed. No, England and nowhere else is doomed. I think if anything, this is going to come out. As I said, this will come out in the favour of everyone, apart from the Illuminati. Everyone else will benefit from what's happening in the world. You know. Yeah, it's true, Eman. It's not the Jews. No, it's not. You must have. It's true. Think I'm Carolyn. Oh right, okay. I gave you a lift in the car at Miles Johnson's conference. Oh yes, not Gordon Bowden. Think you gave me a lift home and dropped me off in Botley, Oxford. I remember you. Yeah, I had to go back before the end, and I missed the end of the conference. Carolyn. Oh, well, nice to meet you. Julian Cover. I can't stand mumbling. I know you guys run out of patience with him long before I did, but I'm just really. I don't think I can deal with him anymore. I might make a couple of reply videos to him, but that's going to be it. Stephen, I do need bed, and I think the rest of you will soon. We now got 39 people, so there's fewer people. There's still quite a few people watching. Probably foreigners, actually, people maybe from North America or somewhere, because that's their sort of early evening. I want to have a cup of tea before I go to bed. But got any matchsticks? Oh, stay awake, Ben. Stay awake. Oh, bless him, says Tink. Yeah, Hugo Roon. I'm thinking almost E-Man and Hugo are talking about Jews in Britain. Yeah. There's a good chord. Follow the Torah. There's nothing to do with paganism. Yeah, and that's probably the oldest text, I think, the Torah, which is like really part of the Old Testament. E-Man says, hang on. Ironman Spartan, hello. Have I been back to Westgate Shopping Centre? You loved the video I did. Oh, thank you. I went back there a couple of times, and I didn't see anything worth filming. It hasn't changed much. It's still very, very pretentious and grand, and it's a temple to consumerism, as I said. You know. 'Tis late another time, says Hugo. Yes, it is. Yeah. I thought you left anyway, Hugo. You tempted to post again. I'll be finishing soon. It's all right. Paul Armstrong, 3 hours plus, still going strong. I love your staying power, Benny. I know. I just feel I need to finish. You know, it's just like I don't want to leave your comments. Neil Desperandum says the Jewish thing has reared its ugly head again. It's really stupid. It's like a black African blaming all white Europeans for their ills in the world. Yeah, it's very similar, actually. You know, like as I said do you remember my South African Farms live stream where I said that black people in South Africa were being indoctrinated to just hate all white people and blame them for everything that ever bad was happening. In a sense, when the people in the truth movement say the Jews are behind everything, they're doing the same thing. And I mean, the Jews are completely innocent. I said this in my entire Jews video was about that. That's sophistry, Ben. What is? I'm too tired to do sophistry, man. Tink, night. Thank you very much. Bless you. Sophistry, what? I mean, it's not a case of saying Jews are innocent or Jews are the whole problem. False dichotomy. Not in this case. Not in this case. It's not sophistry. When I say Jews are innocent, I mean Jews are innocent. It's not context or maybe they're a little bit guilty. No. Whether someone is whether they're Jews or non-Jews, or it's irrelevant. It's as irrelevant as saying, are they left-handed or right-handed? Or, do they dress left or right, sort of thing. It's that irrelevant. And I explain why. No worries, Professor Fez, thank you. Kev Baker, hello! How are you, brother? Do tune into the Kev Baker show every night. Kev has got more staying power than me. Kev does a show every night. He does it every evening, I think. And he's like me. He's got a day job too, like me. I mean, I don't know how he does it. And I'm on his video I'm on his show every few weeks. So Kev, thank you very much for tuning in, mate. Good to see you too, brother. Go to sleep, Ben. I will in a minute. Neil Desperate, the guy with the one hair, yes, the guy who was always combing his hair over. That's him. Yeah, you can get those on YouTube. Kev Baker says the baldy man is probably outlawed now for male toxicity. It probably is. Anything that's comedy, Kev, that was made more than about 10 years ago is now either outlawed or is about to. Steve, all right, Steve. I know. I think people are getting tired as well. The wood chipper thing. Professor Fez. I talk about the wood chipper comment in. Yeah, it's not the same. What you said about Charles was not the same. I can't remember all of it. I mean, I just felt that Steve had crossed the line. I really did. Yes, Julian, that's it. It's true. Where is it? I've got to go up again. Hang on. I'm nearly at the end now. I'm nearly caught my tail. I know you guys are adding comments. I'm trying to catch up with them. Yeah. All races are fingers up the same hand, and the hand is shoved up God's shitty. Oh, blasphemy! Professor Fez, Julian, the Brits got him thinking it was a common market, and look how that turned out. Exactly, Professor Fez, as Tony Benn warned us it would happen in bloody 1973, and nobody listened to him. And this is where it's gone. And sadly, he didn't live long enough to see 2016, which was sad. Neil Desbrandam says, I've seen the Bob Lazar film. It's quite artsy rather than a controversial documentary. It's not a documentary about Bob Lazar's past. You watch it and it kind of has this kind of assumption that everyone knows what the past is. And it just focuses on his current life. It's still good, but it doesn't, it's not something you could show to someone who doesn't already know all about Bob Lazar's story. Armand Adams, hello. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to catch you too. Hereditary. All right, says E-Man. Heritage. I don't know what's. Oh, Kev did a show. Oh, cool. I wonder how much KLF know about PSYOPs. Yes, E-Man, KLF is really interesting. They were very much into the Robert Anton Wilson thing. So long, David. Take care. Bye-bye. E-Man says, Putin's got a minister who goes in for psychological games like setting up false opposition parties and then, came from performance art. Do people call Kev Baker a pound shop Alex Jones? That's mean. He's nothing of the sort. Night, Professor Fez. I will be finishing in a moment. I'm nearly at the end of the comments list. Right. So long, David. Yeah, no, take care. And I don't know about the Putin's minister. Good night, Ben. The views are going up. Yeah, they've got 37 now, so they're going up again. I'm afraid I know people are still watching. I'm going to have to stop. I know there's still plenty of watching. Margaret Edwards, hello. Parliament is kicking the can down the road. They want Britain and Europe under one globalist control. Yeah, the Labour Party is the worst offender. Yeah, I mean, it actually, if we have a general election, Margaret, and there's a Labour government, nothing's going to change at all, other than Jeremy Corbyn is going to be utterly and totally shafted by Diane Abbott, and then even more so than when they were literally doing it in 1983. and she's going to be Prime Minister, in which case, what are we going to do? We'll have a Prime Minister who hates white people and can't count on her bloody fingers. That's a dearie me. Kev rattles a digital begging bowl every night. Paul, that's rude. Right. Well, that's a very derogatory way to put it, Paul. Kev, what asks for funding like I do sometimes, and what's wrong with that? Please support my important work. All major credit cards are accepted. What's wrong with that? Do you know, if someone else does something for you, like a plumber or an electrician or a car mechanic, do you pay him, Paul? I know you're a wind-up merchant. I know you don't mean any harm by it, but that's just a really nasty thing to say. Truth of the matter is, why is it when someone makes radio shows for you to listen to, which you don't have to pay for, and then they just said, would you contribute on a voluntary basis? Everyone starts throwing their toys out the cage. Kev provides a vital service, as do I. And if we do it for free. And the thing is, like, I know that TFR is now subscription only, but it's worth it. You know how much it costs? Less than a cup of bloody coffee a week. That's all it is. What's wrong with you, Paul? I mean, the thing is, I know you're just a shit stirrer, but what you said sounds malicious. I know you're not a malicious troll. You're a shit stirring, just wind up troll. But honestly, man, that is just a stupid, very, very ignorant thing to say. Margaret says the British people will be free from the EU. Parliament is concluding to destroy the Brexit we voted for. Yes, Margaret, we will be free from the EU. We'll be free from the New World Order eventually. But I don't think it's going to happen through Brexit sort of thing. Iman producer, Jews are not uniquely guilty, but they're great at selling the idea they're persecuted. This goes back to Exodus. They sold their defeat in a civil war, a story about being chosen by God. Now, Jews are not guilty in any way for the New World Order. Now, this idea that they sell the idea they're persecuted, and that is it's a nasty thing when they play on that. I mean, yes, they've had a bad deal many times. They've been persecuted many all through the eras, of course, in Nazi Germany, of course, but before that, again, they have been many times. And indeed, it does go back to Exodus and Egypt when they were slaves. Okay, that was a shitty deal, and I'm sorry that happened. But some of them are actually fine with that. They just realise that, and they're willing to live with their past, as other cultures are. I mean, I'm Welsh, and you should see the victim mentality in Wales. It's worse than Ireland. And it's really, they go, oh, woe is us, and you hear the harp music, and oh God, you see pictures with kids with Welsh knot around their heads and around their necks and things like that. And I think to yourself, come on, man, get over it. There's no one alive in the world is to blame for what happened to you. And they're like the feminists. You have to move on. They're like the South African situation I talked about. This victimhood addiction. It's a very destructive vice. And I don't like it when anyone does that, not just Jews, anyone. Paul Armstrong, if you're listening in the USA, I need money for my medical expenses. It's so expensive in the UK. Night, Julian. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, Paul. You're starting to talk crap now. Good night, Armand. Take care. It's free to produce YouTube. Woo. Yes, it is. So what? We still work. I've worked for 3.5 hours tonight. Fight. Kev Baker. Yeah, the haters will hate. Smile at the idiots. Yes, absolutely, Kev. I don't bother me. I mean, it's been worse than that, I'll tell you. Eman, Vladislav Surkov was the Russian minister. Is that right? Adam Curtis did a documentary about him. I've watched all Adam Curtis's documentaries. Which one's that? It's one of the earlier ones. Yeah, jealousy. Yeah, Paul, that's right. Paul, how many radio shows do you produce, eh? Kev Baker's work, it is an essential service. Oh. Okay. Where are we now? Okay, we're near the end now. Okay, Iman Padima. I don't like Dr. Sir Stephen. Kev Baker Show. Night, night. Thanks, Kev. Night, night, Kev. Take care. And Paul says, night, Kevin. Sleep tight. Okay. Are you made up now, Paul? Are you going to apologise to Kev? I think you should. All right, guys. Now, I'm actually at the end of the comments, believe it or not. So I'm going to end the stream after 3 hours, 29 minutes. Bye, Stephen. I think I'll just say goodbye to you all, and we'll get it over 3 hours 30, and only 3.5 hours exactly. Bye, Stephen. Night, night. 99333 Kingdom. Thank you for tuning in and welcome. Thanks, TK. I'm glad you enjoyed this stream. It's been FAB. It's certainly been the longest, hasn't it? It's been LONG. Good night, TK. Good night, Stephen. Good night, Paul. Good night, Kev. Good night, Neil. Thanks, Eamon. Good night. And thanks for tuning in. See you in chat, Paul, tomorrow. Night, Luke. Sleep well. Take it easy. And anyone else out there who's still with me, there's 36 people still listening, still watching. Sorry about that, but I guess you're all American or Canadian, or Mexican or Venezuelan. Maybe you're that girl who, what's his name, likes. I don't know. TK, happy birthday tomorrow. It's not my birthday tomorrow, actually, TK. But if you want to send me a present, let's pretend it's my birthday. Night, night, TK. Conspiracy started. That's right. Funnily enough, people said, is there any example of a good conspiracy, a benevolent conspiracy? And of course, there are examples. And conspiracy is not always bad. Planning someone's secret birthday party is an example of a benevolent conspiracy theory. You're from Mars, Stephen. Oh, night, night, Stephen. All right, guys, I'm going to click end of stream. Thank you all for watching, and the recording will be available soon if you've missed anything, and I'll post a link before I go to bed. I will post a link to the recording. Good night. Hospital Port as Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.